Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly with you on this Tuesday morning, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Loaded show today. Plenty of Preds talk, plenty of Titans talk. Yesterday, we were thrown through a loop with all the breaking news. So excited for the show today and excited to be back in studio with Dr. Crane.
Glad to have you back in studio, man. Tony Tuesdays back as regular programming.
You had to hold it down by yourself on Tony Tuesdays last week.
It didn't go too bad. I mean, the whole Joe Brady thing happened and follow suit with Robert Saleh and Brian Dable.
Yep.
Like, wow, Jake has missed a lot.
I know you guys got a busy breaking news day, but we'll see. Hopefully we stay on schedule today and nothing interrupts us.
Fingers crossed.
We had to pivot yesterday with the news that Barry Trotz stepping down as the Predators GM, announcing his retirement at the end of the 2026-27 season, staying in that role as the GM until they find his successor. We're going to talk about that plenty early on in the show, but did want to mention some breaking news, and we've got our Nashville SC, our resident Nashville SC reporter, Nick Frazier, that Geodis Park going to host Olympic soccer matches in 2028.
It's a beautiful sight to see. I mean, when you build a stadium like this, that's one of the primary reasons why you build it, is it's categorized as the biggest soccer-specific stadium in the United States and North America. So that is a big draw for a lot of fans outside of the United States. And the fact that, it's going to be the Olympics is only even more, magnified. So this is a fantastic thing for the city, fantastic for not only the city, but for the club as well, brings more exposure. It's just kind of what the city needs, is more exposure, even though it's growing too fast. But that's a whole conversation for another day.
Well, we talked yesterday about we could be 3, 4, 5 years away from a Super Bowl here in Nashville. So maybe that's another step forward in showing that Nashville is ready for these big events. I got to say, though, I was surprised. I did not know that the soccer was going to be spread out across the country. When I saw LA 28, I kind of assumed it would all be in the greater Los Angeles area. I know that maybe there's not enough stadiums for all of that. I knew the World Cup was spread out across Canada, the United States, Mexico. I did not know the Olympics were going to spread out. So that's pretty cool that we'll see that in 2028.
Yeah, and I wonder, too, with the process of selecting the certain stadiums for the Olympics, if regular grass had to play a factor into this.
That's a good point.
Because that is a big thing when it comes to FIFA regulations. Are you going to play on turf? Are you going to play on grass? There are some MLS teams that do play on turf that, is not really the happiest of happies when it comes to stuff like that. So you just hope that that's the reason why. But again, Nashville, regular grass. This is a good playing surface. They got rugby coming in April. So that's another big event coming up. I mean, a lot of sports that I enjoy. So this is going to be fun.
It's a cornucopia of Nick Frazier's favorite sports coming to Nashville.
Well, when I went to Paris for my honeymoon, they had soccer. We went to soccer and they had it in Nice, France, which is 9 hours from Paris. So I guess it kind of does make sense a little bit. But
I guess you need big stadiums, and you're right. The grass part of it might be big, because I was thinking you could put games in the Rose Bowl, you could put games in the Coliseum, you could put games at SoFi Stadium, but it all depends on the playing surface. And of course, there's way more matches that probably would need to be elsewhere. So very cool. Nashville, one of the host cities for LA 28 soccer coming up in a few years. Winter Olympics start this week. Crazy.
The World Cup this summer in the United States.
Time flies.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. It feels like yesterday that we were talking about the Paris Olympics. So excited for that coming up Friday, opening ceremonies. We'll have Max Herzon on Friday to talk. We've decided to plan out your Olympic hockey watch guide for you. So make sure you tune in for that. Speaking of hockey, let's get into the Preds here. We're going to talk plenty about Barry Trotz over the first couple of segments of the show, but I do want to start with what a win last night for the Predators. Down 5-1. I will say I turned it off. I'll own up to it. 5-1. I did not think that they had any chance to come back. I did flip it back on once I saw it got to 5-3 for the third period, but man, you can't count the Predators out of any game right now. Steven Stamkos scores twice in the third period to help the Preds get a 6-5 win, and a much-needed win if they're going to keep themselves in the hunt for a playoff spot heading into the Olympic break.
I'm still in the camp this team makes the playoffs and they make a deep run at it. Again, that is just my opinion. You could disagree, whatever, but this team has the veterans go a good distance in the playoffs. And if they can get into a wild card 2 spot before the I guess Olympic break, that is 2 more games, just win these next 2. And again, you've heard it from Barry Trotz yesterday. You heard it from a few players before the game on the TV broadcast. These are important games coming up to, I guess, before the Olympic break, that is.
Right. Because as we've said plenty of times, there's not a whole lot of time after the Olympic break before the trade deadline. So decisions have to be made on what this team's direction is going to be. Talking with Max last week, I think we came to the conclusion, based on what Barry Trotz has said, that this team's not going to be buyers, okay? They're not going to go out and make moves trying to make a push to be wild card 1, wild card 2. You'd love to see the team do it, but I don't think you're adding pieces just for the chance to face Colorado in the first round of the playoffs, right? You're not mortgaging the future for this year. The question is, to what extent are they sellers, right? Are you shipping away your big pieces like Ryan O'Reilly, Jonathan Marchessault, or is it maybe just a move here and there that makes sense for your team right now? I think that's what Barry Trotz is deciding. And these games, like you said, they're important to decide whether this team needs to be full-on sellers and maybe, as we talked about yesterday, embrace the rebuild a little bit more, or is this just going to be a move here and there to get some assets for your expiring contracts, but not blow up the rest of the roster?
Yeah, it's a tough situation the Preds are kind of in. I mean, look, you see the progress they've made the last couple of weeks. Sure, they haven't been the biggest of strides, but they come in a little bit of spurts in some aspects. I found it very telling yesterday, I guess, in the media scrum. It was posted on Twitter somewhere. It might have been Alex Doherty or Robbie Stanley, our own, that somebody asked Barry Trotz about when he came into Nashville as the GM, and I guess he basically said pushing the envelope. That was the big thing I took away from that. He pushed the envelope a little bit and people could recognize it. I think coming to this trade deadline, you wonder if he's still going to push the envelope a little bit. I don't think so because of what took place yesterday. I just would like to see them add one more guy and maybe offload somebody.
Yeah, I don't know what their plan's going to be, and that's why these games are important. Right now, there's 5 teams within 3 points of each other, from wild card 1 all the way down to, I guess, the Predators are in that group of a couple points out. So it's a logjam right now. These next couple of games are going to be important for Barry Trotz to make a plan. But I do think that the Predators have proven that even if they do make a couple moves here and there, they've turned the corner and they're going to be competitive. It's just a question of, are they able to keep this up for the final 25 to 30 games to get themselves into the playoffs? The big news yesterday, of course, with the Preds, though, is that Barry Trotz is stepping down as general manager, announcing that he plans to retire, going to stay on, help find his replacement, and he'll be the GM until they do find his successor. I really appreciated that press conference yesterday. Parker and I were in here kind of blind for 3 hours. We knew that he was stepping down. We didn't know why.
Kinda.
We were flying blind here. More information came out throughout the day. You know, we heard from Elliot Friedman. All right, it's not health related, which was great to hear. We knew that he didn't want to get back into coaching, but there still was this overwhelming sense of why. And I thought the Predators were very forthcoming. I thought they were very transparent in the way that they handled that press conference yesterday. They answered a lot of the questions that I had of, are you going to make a move quickly? Because if Barry Trotz is on his way out, do you want him making all of these decisions? And they said, we trust Barry Trotz implicitly because he's going to do what's best for the team. And we heard about that. And we heard about why Barry Trotz was choosing to do this, to spend time with his family and can't be all in on this GM job, which is what it requires when you're in that seat. So I did really appreciate that press conference yesterday. I know you were in here with Chase and Big Joe listening to it. It's very rare to get a sports team to come out and tell you exactly what's going on. And I thought that was what the Predators did yesterday.
Yeah, and the raw emotion coming from Barry Trotz when he was asked multiple times. Well, the first time was Corey Curtis when he asked him, what is the true reasoning? And he mentioned his family. And then to wrap up the entire press conference, he wrapped it up with his family, and he was choked up by it. You could definitely see his eyes kind of got watered and little pink rings around his eyes because he knew that I mean, that's what his family is. Look, I have an acronym I live by, and a lot of people do FOE, family over everything. I'm in that same boat. So if that's what's really driving his I guess ambitions going forward, then follow your ambitions of being with your family, because there are times, and again, I haven't played at the professional level, neither of you. I mean, we have both played in sports, and we know what the sacrifice is if you want to play collegiately.
Yeah.
And that's the case.
Yes.
It's the same sentiment.
I think you get a lot of these guys in sports who are lifers, right? They get in, they're a coach, they're a GM, they're a player, and it's like you don't want to ever step away. I like that Barry Trotz is saying, you know what, it's time, and he wants to go spend time with your family, because there are so many guys who it's like being a coach is part of them, and they never want to give it up. But I'm sure that there is some regret there at the end when, if you look back and say, man, I wish I would have spent more time with my family. I'm glad that Barry Trotz is making this decision. And the Predators now have big decisions to make on their end of how they're going to move forward with this team. Where are they going to go to find the next GM? They said yesterday that they hope to have a GM in place by the draft.
Right.
So Barry Trotz is being entrusted with a lot of big decisions until they do that. And that starts with the trade deadline. So I get why they did it. They came out, they said, hey, we don't want to do this behind a curtain and hope that you guys don't find out. We've got to come out. We got to be forthcoming, say, this is what's happening. Barry Trotz is going to retire. We're going to find his replacement, and he's going to stay on. And the Predators now kind of at a crossroads as they look for the next GM.
And as for Barry Trotz, I always kind of think of that Moneyball scene where they're sitting at the kitchen table, and it's Billy Beane when he's like 18 years old, and that scout comes up to him and says, some are told at 18, some are told at 40, but we're all told.
Yep.
Meaning his time's coming up, and that seemed like it was the time. I just think it's just so fitting for yesterday. And I mean, when you think of hockey in Nashville, you can't mention Barry Trotz. You have to mention that guy's name. And again, as someone who's born and raised in this market, that's one of the first names that I learned when talking about hockey, just trying to understand the game. Barry Trotz, head coach. And then follow suit with that, David Poile. And then you go with Pete Weber, Terry Crisp, and the list goes on and on. Willie Donick is on that list as well. Those are all perennial names that come to mind when you think of Nashville Predators hockey.
And Robbie and Joe were doing the classic sports talk radio exercise of Mount Rushmore of the Predators. And I think Barry Trotz, at the very least, deserves to be in the conversation for that. So congratulations to him on a great career. And now the Predators look to their next steps. And we'll continue to talk about that on the other side. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. Our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Talking Preds to start the show today. We will get into the Titans later on in the hour as they have a new defensive coordinator, Gus Bradley, coming over to work with Robert Saleh. We'll get into that as well. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game.
We really don't. And we've told everybody it's truth. There's no preordained candidate. And we've told the three of them, we want you to apply. They can obviously decide if they want to or not, but we want you to. But we don't really, we're starting with, our goal is to find the very best person to be. Like I said, there's only been 3, this will be the 3rd general manager in the history. Find the very best person to do that. I don't start with a preference, internal versus external.
That was Bill Haslam yesterday during the press conference announcing Barry Trotz plans to retire as general manager. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly with you here on Next Man Up, talking about where they look to go. We said yesterday we think external would be good, and I think that's been a sentiment around Nashville since the announcement yesterday, is that going outside the family could be a good idea just to get a fresh perspective on this team. The Predators, as they said yesterday, they've got their line in the water first at the fishing hole, and they have a good amount of time here to go through a thorough process and find a new GM. I just think finding somebody from outside of what's been with the Predators since the beginning, right? Like David Poile, Barry Trotz, they do things the Predator way. And there's nothing wrong with that. The Predator way has led to a lot of success. I do just think marrying the Predator way and keeping some of the old guard and bringing in fresh perspective could be what this team needs as it looks to retool this roster.
As you said, don't go against the family. The Godfather reference, Fredo, never go against the family. But for this reference here, it is a Godfather thing because you bring in a consigliere that is not a part of the family, but yet is still bringing in the same ideologies. And I think that's genius. I think that's what the Preds need. They need a little fresh mind, something that can kind of ruffle the feathers a little bit, but still keep it between the lines, if that makes sense. And I found it very, very interesting, listening to Elliot Friedman yesterday. He said this is an appealing job for the whole entire hockey market, which understandably so, because who wouldn't want to come to Nashville? But also, too, Willie asked a really good question at the end of their interview. It was about CAA and Nick Saban. Like, how much of a factor does Nick Saban play into this? Obviously, he will be a part of the search process, but having CAA along for the ride here to find that next GM, I think is just genius because that guy's always a part of a winning culture. And I wonder if that has a little bit of a play into this.
Yeah, the Nick Saban stuff was funny because we were getting texts yesterday saying, did Nick Saban have something to do with this? Is he forcing Barry Trotz out? And I think most of it was tongue-in-cheek. It was mostly joking. But it is funny that he's going to be on the search committee. And I get it, right? Like, he doesn't know hockey, I'm sure, more than any other random person out there, right? But he knows winning, and he knows coaching, and he knows what it takes to be a leader. So, sure, is Nick Saban going to be the guy who makes the final decision of, that's our GM? Probably not, but I think he does know what it takes to lead an organization, lead a program like that, and I'm glad that the Predators have him on their side to help make this decision.
Yeah, being in that collective effort, not only with Nick Saban, but, you have Haslam, Henry, and even Trotz right now because he's still the sitting GM until they find a new one. Yep. So, I mean, again, he'll be a part of the process. It's a refreshing feeling, kind of what you mentioned last segment, the opening segment, of just the transparency. And that's why I'm not sold, but I'm more comforted with that entire, I guess, baseline of what's going on right now.
Yeah, and I think they were able to answer a lot of the big questions that we had yesterday. I think there are also questions that remain of what is the overall direction of this team. And I know Adam Vingan talked with us yesterday, talked a lot on DVD about this team is due for a rebuild at some point. Mm-hmm. They haven't taken that big step back. And we got a lot of concerned fans on the text line, the YouTube chat yesterday saying, well, you rebuild, there's no guarantee that you end up getting these great players, right? There's still a lottery system. Just because you're bad for 3 or 4 years doesn't mean you're going to get these game-changing players. It is more likely, but it doesn't guarantee it. I still lean that the Predators probably do need a rebuild at some point. They have the makings of a good farm system coming up. We've gone through the prospects that you get excited about. Brady Martin, of course, is number one. I like Igor Surin, the first-round pick from a couple years ago, who's out in the KHL. Tanner Molendijk, another first-round pick. Riker Lee from this past year. I mean, the list goes on and on of
Aiden Fink,
right.
Penn State, who is looking really good.
There's a ton of exciting young players, but as I said yesterday, I don't know if there's that franchise-changing player that you have right now. You hope one of those guys ends up being it, but you don't really know that you have that right now. There's a lot of big decisions that have to be made about the direction of this franchise. And I think the next GM is going to come in, and it might be kind of a clean slate for him to try and set a course for this franchise, I guess I would say. Do you want to try and fast track it? I don't know if that's the best idea, but you do have the resources to try and do that if you think that's what's best. I do think this team is in need of a reset of, hey, take 2 or 3 years where maybe you're not as competitive, but 5 years down the road, you're not just a playoff team. You could be a Stanley Cup contending team.
Yeah, and to that point, you wonder for the next GM that's brought in, is that a quality you want to have in previous, I guess, terms with other franchises? Have you been a part of a franchise that's brought in a top talent, that has brought in a perennial forward or center or defenseman in this case for the Preds? Because that's kind of what they're going to need, like you're alluding to there. And to add on to that, I think that's what CAA is there for, is to find that guy.
Yeah.
That next name that's going to, say, you know what, this guy can give us the X amount of talent that we need.
And some of it is luck, right? Like
Sure.
the lottery balls have to bounce your way if you're going to end up getting one of those generational type players. We've seen it in the past. The Blackhawks got lucky with Connor Bedard. Last year, the Islanders kind of came out of nowhere to get Matthew Schaefer. So you do have to get lucky. We'll see if the Preds can do that, but you also have better odds, obviously, if you're towards the bottom of the league. And so
I think slow and steady, I don't want to say that's the way the Preds have been treating this, but slow and steady wins the race, right?
Yeah.
And I think with the way they've been marinating these young talents, sure, they're not at the top NHL level yet, but I think it was 3 weeks ago, give or take, Greg Wyshynski was on with Jason McJoe, and he even mentioned that the Preds have 8 of the top 40 prospects in the NHL right now. So again, that to me shows a lot of promise for the future. I get people want to capitalize on the win now with the Preds, having Stamkos, Marchessault, Shea, Yossi, Forsberg, all that veteran core. But yet the future is very bright. And I'm not just saying that to say it. I seriously think that these young guys are what's going to lead this franchise going forward.
Well, Barry said he wanted to thread the needle, right? That's what he's been trying to do. Stay competitive while also building up the future. And you can see the foundation of that next core with those names we mentioned of the prospects. And you said 8 of the top 40. The foundation is there. I just think it's missing the crown jewel of hey, this is going to be our franchise player for the next 15 years. You hope Brady Martin maybe could end up being close to that, but that's not how he was viewed as a prospect coming into the draft. We'll see, but that's not how he was viewed as some generational type guy. Again, you have to get lucky, but I think the Preds can give themselves more chances if they take a little bit of a step back. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Stay tuned. Later in the show, we will give away a 4-pack of tickets to the Athletes Unlimited Pro Basketball game tomorrow at Nashville's Municipal Auditorium. It's a 5:30 start. Again, AU Pro Basketball back in Nashville for the second year. Tons of great players, WNBA players, former college stars. So excited for that. We will give away those tickets later on in the show. Coming up next, we will transition over to the Titans. We did not talk any Titans yesterday, so I got to get into the two-tone blue. The coordinator positions are now filled. Gus Bradley going to be the Titans defensive coordinator. We'll talk about it next. Talk about this Titans staff as a whole under Robert Saleh. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly with you. Let's talk some Titans here. The Titans staff is almost complete. Couple more position coaches need to be brought in, but the Titans have a defensive coordinator, Gus Bradley, coming over in apparently what was a pretty hefty bidding war between the Titans and the Cardinals. Albert Breer reporting this morning that the Cardinals offered more money to Gus Bradley and the opportunity to call plays. He wanted to come to Tennessee and coach under Robert Saleh. So Titans, you can't say that they don't have experience on this staff. They've got former head coaches at head coach, obviously, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and if you count the 3 games that Bones Fossil was an interim head coach, special teams coordinator. So experience is not an issue for this Titans coaching staff.
No, I mean, even when you bring in Gus Bradley, he was an assistant head coach last year for the San Francisco 49ers. So again, that's that veteran leadership. And again, you mentioned bidding war. It's kind of a testament to Robert Saleh and what kind of a coach he is. The fact that you have people that want to follow you where you go. And I just think that's genius. And the fact that the Titans now have a collective staff that can lead a team on the football field and play fast and play violent. The 2 words Robert Saleh wants to describe his team to play as, especially his defense.
Yes, all gas, no brakes from Robert Saleh. And I do like it. I had initially thought that they would go with kind of an up-and-comer at defensive coordinator, because when you have a head coach who's calling plays on that side of the ball, typically the experienced guys aren't going to sign up for that, right?
Right.
Like, I would have guessed Gus Bradley would have wanted to go somewhere where he could call plays. And the Cardinals offered him that, offered him more money. But now he comes here, and I do like it. I think that allows Robert Saleh to be the CEO, even if he is still calling defensive plays, right? Because he has somebody he trusts who has done it for a long time. I mean, Gus Bradley, Legion of Boom, back with Seattle.
Yep.
I know things didn't go well in Jacksonville when he was the head coach. Has it really gone well for anybody outside of Tom Coughlin as the head coach in Jacksonville?
Not really.
Liam Cohen got off to a good start. I'll give him credit there. But I think that is exactly what the Titans needed, because I did worry when Robert Saleh was saying that he felt like he was just the timeout and red flag guy, and when he wasn't calling plays in New York. And I was worried that maybe he would be a little bit more in tune with calling plays on defense than being the CEO, leader of men type coach.
Right.
Having Gus Bradley, I think, gives him the flexibility to do both, because he's going to trust that, hey, if I need to step away and go talk to the offense or talk to special teams and go work with them during practice, I'm not going to be handing it off to somebody who I don't know if I can trust yet on the defensive side of the ball. You're handing it off to a guy who is clearly proven himself as a defensive play caller in this league.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at that San Francisco team last year, especially on this past season with the defensive side of the ball. Sure, the sack numbers were not, over the moon fantastic, but yet you got to remember what players they had out there. They were facilitating a rotating defense, that you were missing a few key pieces to your defensive style that you like to play. And the fact that you have a guy right behind you in Gus Bradley that can say, hey, Robert, you go deal with those guys like you're talking about, and then I'll see what I can do on this side of the ball. Okay, we'll be all right.
Right.
I think that's the kind of back and forth you're going to get with this, I guess, coaching marriage. Is that the best way to put it?
I think Robert Saleh, he clearly valued experience on his staff.
Yeah.
Which is, we talk about the pendulum all the time of like these teams make decisions based on what failed for them most recently.
Mm-hmm.
The Titans have swung the pendulum back on experience. We went through it the other day of experience as a head coach and coordinator on the Callahan staff was 0 in his first year. None of them had done that job before. Now you've got guys who have not only done their job a lot, they've done Robert Saleh's job plenty. So I really like it. I think the experience on this staff makes you feel like they're going to be able to come in, hit the ground running, and you don't have to worry about any growing pains early on if they can get the right players in the building.
I like the approach the Titans have brought on for not only the coaching staff, but the front office. We also saw last year when Borgonzi came into play, you brought in a lot of former GMs to join your front office. The Titans have kind of done the same thing with that head coaching realm as well. Former head coaches join this head coach's staff. I think it's genius. Again, you got to give kudos to Mike Borgonzi, because he's given Robert Saleh all the resources now to facilitate a good winning football program. And that can't fall on his shoulders. I'm going to be honest. That cannot fall on the shoulders of GM Mike Borgonzi. Now, if you want to put it on the shoulders of a Chad Brinker, maybe, I don't know. But no, you got to give a little pat on the back for a guy like Borgonzi of what he's done.
Paul Kuharsky did put this out there last night after Gus Bradley was announced, not officially, but after it was reported that Gus Bradley was going to be the DC. Previous head coaching experience at the top of the Titans staff. Robert Saleh, 56 games, 20-36. Brian Daboll, 61 games, 20-40-1. Gus Bradley, 62 games, 14-48. And John Fossil, 3 games as an interim, he was 0-3. That is a collective winning percentage of 299 between all of them. So none of them have panned out as great head coaches. But the good news is Brian Daboll and Gus Bradley are not asked to be a head coach. They're your coordinators, and they've proven to be very good at those positions.
I would like to know what the winning percentage is as coordinators for them. That's something I'll probably do after the show, but that's a good little thing to look at.
Yeah, we could look into that.
Yeah, because look, looking at the head coaching numbers, 299, that's a pretty good batting average if you're playing baseball.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm cool with that. Like, no, but this is football. You got to win. Wins what solve all the problems. And right now, looking at that head coaching record, it's not pretty. But again, you're not having them be the head coaches. You're having them be the head coaches of those certain positions in certain parts of the defense and offense, that is.
Yes, and I think it's good that we have seen the Titans are valuing the experience with these guys. And you would hope that Robert Saleh, learning from what happened in New York, believes that this is something that can help him have success here, because he didn't go with experienced guys when he was with the Jets.
Right.
In fact, he went with Mike LaFleur, who he just beat on this battle for Gus Bradley over there in Arizona. So I think that this is a microcosm and at least a start to see that Robert Saleh has learned from his mistakes in New York. Something that he did with the Jets was he didn't call plays and he hired inexperienced coordinators. He has changed that as he's made his way to Nashville. Now, it doesn't mean anything until we see it on the field, but I think it shows you that Robert Saleh is flexible and is willing to notice what went wrong in his first try and try and correct it here in Nashville.
Yeah, and he even mentioned it in his introductory press conference. I think it was might have been Nick Suss from Tennessee that asked him a question about, what have you learned and what are you bringing to Nashville from New York? And I thought that, to me, is what really not won me over, but the fact that he put humor along with transparency, along with reality, and saying, look, these are the XYZ things that I can bring to Nashville. This is what I learned in New York. I thought that was just pure genius. And the fact that he has a little bit of a humor personality, that's what also gives me a good sense of just relaxation a little bit to calm down and like, this is going to be okay.
I think it's a good start to the Robert Saleh era, and we'll talk more about that throughout the show. Other coordinator news this morning, Matt Nagy has a landing spot. He is going to be the offensive coordinator for the New York Giants. And I thought this was hilarious because I remember scrolling through X after John Harbaugh chose the Giants, and all the Giants fans said, enjoy Matt Nagy, Titans fans. Well, guess what? You got Matt Nagy now.
Yep.
Also, Denard Wilson is their defensive coordinator. So
good for them.
The Giants going with John Harbaugh, Matt Nagy, Denard Wilson. I'll ask Titans fans out there, maybe a little biased, which staff would you feel better with? I know Titans fans, including myself, we're all in on trying to get John Harbaugh. Do you feel better with a trio of Saleh, Daboll, Bradley versus Harbaugh, Nagy, Wilson?
I'll take option A, number one, please. Please.
I think it's close because, like, Harbaugh, obviously, you look at Harbaugh versus Saleh, and Harbaugh's a Super Bowl winning coach with 18 years of good experience, of success. So that's going to skew it in the Giants' direction. But coordinator-wise, obviously, I feel better with Brian Daboll and Gus Bradley than I do with the other two.
I'm not trying to poo-poo on the Giants' parade if they do like this coaching staff, but you look at it from the defensive side of the ball, Denard Wilson has had some history with John Harbaugh.
Right,
in
coach with the Ravens, yep.
Yeah. I mean, he was their secondaries coach, ended up being linebackers in D.C. at some point. Then he came to Nashville, and they had their linebackers coach take over for D.C. for them. And then you look at the offensive side of the ball. Yes, you have Jackson Dart, Malik Neighbors, Cam Scatabo, so forth. You have your young core pieces, but you look at that, I guess, offensive coordinator realm. He was the runt of the litter. He was the last one to join something. And again, Todd Monken goes, I believe, to Cleveland, correct?
Yes.
And that is all up in the air for Harbaugh. Well, who do I get for my OC now? There you go, Matt Nagy, the last one on the board.
There was rumors it might be Brian Callahan too, that he was in consideration for that job. And how funny would it have been if Jackson Dart and Cam Ward just swapped play callers in year 2? I mean, how funny of an experiment would that be? Of like, all right, we saw what Jackson Dart did, saw what Cam Ward did in year 1. All right, let's swap their play callers and see what happens. And it almost happened, but no, Matt Nagy.
Ooh. If that happened, Jake, we would have seen some telling answers if it came to one side of the ball or the other. I'm just saying.
Well, if Harbaugh did that, I just don't understand what he could have seen in a year and a half of Titans football with Brian Callahan and Denard Wilson as your play callers. And that's nothing against Denard Wilson. I think he did a decent job with what he was given.
Yes.
But John Harbaugh watching 20 games of Titans football, 23 games of Titans football where Brian Callahan and Denard Wilson are your play callers, and you win 3 games, and he's like, sign me up for that. Those are my play callers. Give me Callahan, give me Wilson. That would have been hilarious.
Yeah.
But it's Matt Nagy. And Titans fans, I know, were not thrilled that Matt Nagy was a finalist for this job as a head coach. He now finds a landing spot up there in the Meadowlands. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to text or call, our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll continue to talk the Titans coaching staff. Paul Koharski also put out a story this weekend about a new position that's going to be on the Titans staff, and we'll get into that coming up next. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, wrapping up hour number one here on this Tuesday, talking Titans, the coaching staff coming together. Gus Bradley is the new defensive coordinator for the Titans, and as we talked about, head coaching experience, plenty of coordinator experience for everybody at the top of the Titans staff. A few more roles to fill. Don't believe we've seen a linebackers coach yet. So I think that one is still out there. And then Paul Kuharsky put this out over the weekend that the Titans are adding a specific nickel coach to the staff, which I thought was interesting. They did hire a safeties coach yesterday, and I'm blanking on the name. I know Albert Breer reported it. They hired a safeties coach last night after it was announced that they were hiring Gus Bradley. Here it is. Albert Breer bringing in Marquand Manuel to coach the safeties. So they've filled out most of the staff at this point, but I thought it was interesting to bring in a nickel-specific coach because typically it's safeties, corners, and, nickel falls into the cornerback realm. But as the league is changing and you're playing a majority of nickel defense with those 5 DBs, I think it does kind of make sense. And I kind of like that Robert Saleh is on the forefront of this, of bringing in a specific nickelback coach to come in and coach Marcus Harris. Maybe even you put a guy like Kevin Winston under his tutelage to be a big nickel for this team.
It's a possibility. Again, that's a position that has, I guess you could say, struggled for the Titans the last couple of seasons, or just for depth purposes. But there hasn't been like over the moon, production from that certain position. Again, I think it's, you make a great point. Robert Saleh was on the front foot with all this, and maybe there is some more analytics that go into that specific position when it comes to breaking down film and just again, you got to value your defensive backs like wide receivers, pay them big money. Obviously, the Titans had that problem with L'Jarius Sneed didn't really turn out being a perennial corner for them, but the nickel position, if you can go find a bona fide stud and you develop him into being a core piece for this team years to come, which he mentioned in his press conference as well with those young guys, just molding them into being core pieces for this defense, then you should be fine. But bringing in a specific coach for it, I think is a very genius move.
I think this plays off of the answer that Robert Saleh had about not just developing players, but developing coaches, and said, hey, you can have a great coach who has coached in the Stone Age, but if you let him stay that way, your players are going to play like they're playing in the Stone Age. So I think this is showing that Robert Saleh doesn't want to just stick with the norms of the way things have been. He wants to continue to evolve and develop his staff so that the players are playing ahead of the curve in the terms of the way the NFL is developing, instead of having to play catch up.
You don't think that was a jab at the 49ers at all, do you?
No, I don't think so. Maybe not specifically.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm trying to make anything out of it, but the fact that you have a lot of veteran players on the defensive side of the ball, you miss out on a lot of that. I don't know. Maybe a little bit of something.
Yeah, it's possible. I also liked that he said that Daboll is going to be like he was to Shanahan, right? Of like, we're going to give you the defense. That doesn't mean I'm not going to be involved in overseeing it.
Sure.
But I trust you with the offense for Brian Daboll, as Saleh was trusted with the defense. But the Bradley hire, bringing in a nickel coach, I do like what Robert Saleh is doing early on. Again, he's only been the coach for officially less than a week, or I guess 2 weeks now, since they have made the official announcement. But I do like the start of this era for Robert Saleh with the moves that he's made, bringing in staff, and again, adding this nickel specific position that maybe you would think would be necessary. But with the way the NFL is evolving, with so many 3 wide receiver sets, and you do have to have that nickel back out there 80-90% of the time, it is kind of a different position than safety or cornerback, right? Like, you're not going to coach the outside guys the same way you coach the guy who's playing in the slot all the time. And I think having somebody who can come in and give those guys specific instruction could be helpful in the future, especially with some of the young players you have who have been playing in the nickel spot.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to look too far into the future when it comes to this certain, coach and position, but if this doesn't end up working out, or if this somehow becomes a little bit of a issue when it comes to, game planning for a certain team of some sort, then you got to, I guess, tone it back a little bit, maybe restructure where he should be coaching, give or take. Again, I'm looking way too far into it, but that's kind of where my head's at. You got to make sure if you can find the negatives in it before you start, going into the season, then you can kind of figure that out before you go on the field. So I don't know. That's just something where I look at with that. I think it's a good move. Overall, what Robert Saleh has done, we're also bringing in Aaron Whitecotton, another, I guess you could say, goes with the whole point of the bald-headed crew.
Well, yeah, I mean, Gus Bradley's bald too.
Yeah.
I wonder, is it a prerequisite?
Look, I'll shave my head.
You know what? Should we make the deal now? If the Titans make the playoffs in year one under the bald crew, we'll shave our heads.
I'll shake your hand on it on camera right now. I will.
I don't know.
I am not signing up for that.
I've shaved my head before. It's all right.
My wedding will be in the past at that point.
Yep.
I think it would be.
Yeah, you can't do that before.
I was going to say, can't do it.
You may get killed.
Yeah, no, obviously,
it'll reset the growth pattern in your hair. You'll be all right.
All right, let's do it. If they make the playoffs, if they make the playoffs in year one under Robert Saleh, we will join.
We got to shake for everybody that's not watching the podcast.
Yeah, there we go. We have shook hands. So if the Titans make the playoffs in 2026, we will add 2 more bald heads to the Titans.
Robbie, send me what razor you use, buddy. Gonna need it.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. Keegan on the text line says we asked the question of the Giants hire Matt Nagy, Denard Wilson under John Harbaugh. Would you take the Titans top of their staff with their head coach and coordinators of the Giants? Keegan says, I'm taking the Titans staff, but it's much larger than being a homer. I truly don't see things working out for the Giants in this Harbaugh era. I don't know why, but I have a gut feeling it's going to be one of those, wow, on paper, everything looked great. What happened? And I can't get past it. He says he thinks they're at the point where Harbaugh can get you right on the edge of the playoffs, but doesn't buy on him as a Super Bowl head coach anymore. And I can see that, right? Like with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and some of the defenses that they've had. I know the defense wasn't as good this year,
right?
But the teams that he's had over the past 5 to 10 years, they still haven't been able to even get back to the Super Bowl. I wanted John Harbaugh here. I felt like he would have been a perfect hire for the Titans. So I think it was a good hire, but I do understand maybe a little bit of hesitation to, is he going to get the Giants back to being a Super Bowl contender?
Yeah, I think he knew going into this Giants job is if he doesn't, get to the playoffs, he can get away with winning 6 to 7 games in New York and having your name of John Harbaugh to kind of move on your legacy and continue to grab that money, because that's essentially what it is. New York's a big market, sports market that is. They will pay the almighty dollar.
Yep.
And again, he set the market for coaches this go around.
Yeah, $20 million.
And not just the dollar figure, but the year figure as well. 5 years. Robert Saleh, 5 years. All these coaches got 5-year deals because of what John Harbaugh set for the precedent. So again, he's going to be able to get New York probably 7, 8 wins, maybe 9 on a good year, and call it a day.
Giants hoping that the coaching staff they've brought in can turn them around. Titans hoping the same. Again, the big positions on the staff have now been filled. You've got lots of experience. Robert Saleh, head coach. Brian Daboll and Gus Bradley are your coordinators. John Bones Fossil, your special teams coordinator. But as we know in the NFL, coaches can only do so much. It's about the players. And that's what we're going to spend the next hour on, is the Titans offseason. What kind of players do they need to bring in, and how do they go about it? Where are the holes on this team in what is a crucial offseason for the Tennessee Titans? We'll talk about it coming up next. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to text or call, our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Second hour on this Tuesday. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Talking Titans here in hour number 2. The offseason is just a couple days away. Super Bowl on Sunday out in Santa Clara. And the Titans have done a nice job with their staff. That's what we spent the last couple segments on. Experience clearly was I wouldn't say a necessity, but it was something that they wanted. Guys who are going to come in and hit the ground running. There's no learning on the job like we saw from the Brian Callahan staff. And I will say, I think there's reason for hope for Titans fans for the first time in a while here. You can look at this staff, and on paper, I think it looks like it should work. But the biggest thing, of course, is the players. And that's why this offseason is so important. Not only did you have to fill out this coaching staff, which is almost complete now, but now you got to go find the right players for this team. And it could be the difference between this team taking a big step this year or continuing to be in that bottom 10 of the NFL like they've been for the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, and if they bring in guys, if it is free agency or the draft, I wonder when it comes to the draft, they go draft veteran players as in juniors or seniors. Well, juniors obviously, but like seniors, those veteran players that kind of have that proven talent, kind of with Signetti in the transfer portal, grabbing proven talent from the G5 ranks and just having it transformed to the D1 level. So to me, D1 P4 level, that is, excuse me. I think if the Titans can kind of translate that to the NFL stature, that's kind of what they need. They need players that can play now. And if you go to the free agent market and do that as well, this team should be honestly on a faster track than a lot of people thought.
Yeah, we got a while until the draft, and we have plenty of time to look at specific players the Titans could take, whether that's at 4, whether that's at 35, and a lot of that might end up depending on what they do in free agency. And free agency is just over a month away at this point. But I thought it would be a good exercise here to just get out in front and say, what do the Titans need when they look at this offseason? Because there are still a lot of holes on this roster. I think you do like some of the up-and-coming pieces that you have.
Yep.
Cam Ward, of course, the centerpiece. You're hoping J.C. Latham is able to build off what was a strong finish to the season after a slow start. You've got Jim DK, who is over at the Pro Bowl, which we'll talk about later on the show as well. Jeffrey Simmons, of course, Cedric Gray, Kevin Winston, you hope, takes a big step now that he's hopefully finally going to be healthy. So there are pieces, but this team does need a lot of players this offseason. And you've got resources to go get it. The most cap space in the league, the number 4 overall pick. So let's look at what the Titans need. We're not going to go into specific players who could fill it quite yet. We've got plenty of time for that again. But let's start with the offense here, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, we've talked about this. Backup quarterback. They need somebody better than what they had this season. You need somebody who can come in with Cam Ward and not only be a mentor to him. I think you should go experienced here, but be capable enough if Cam Ward does get hurt again to come in. Brandon Allen was not that this year.
No.
You need somebody who is at least a capable backup. Doesn't have to be the greatest backup in the world, but somebody who can come in and at least you know that the ship is not going to sink if he has to come in.
I think there's one guy named, but we're not going through names right now, but, I think it would ruffle your feathers, Tyrod Taylor, just FYI. But
I love me some Tyrod.
I know.
And I'm not saying we can't mention players here, right? Like, I think we can look and say this would be a good fit, but I think it's smart to just come up with a plan. And I have a little Google Doc, and I kind of want to look back at the end of the offseason after the draft and say, have they filled these spots?
Yeah.
Because you have the resources. $100 million in cap space is a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
And not only that, but the cash also. You're not paying that many guys a whole lot of money. Maybe you have to cut L'Jarius Sneed. You eat some dead cap. Calvin Ridley, maybe you eat some dead cap. Right now, the Titans for 2026 have $500,000 of dead cap. That's it. $500,000. So
not bad.
There is a lot of cash that should be available to spend if Amy Adams-Strunk is going to make it available, which I think she realizes how important this offseason is. I don't think she's going to be budgeting Mike Borgonzi at least too much in free agency.
Yeah, after looking at this coaching staff that they've acquired along with their front office last season, you got to unload a little bit. And I think looking at, some of these pieces that you're looking at here to fill an offensive side of the ball, the other position for me, you got to have a backup running back. Just at least get another supplemental running back in there.
So that's where I am too. So backup quarterback need number one. That one seems obvious. Somebody texted Will Levis. We're not having that conversation again. Running back is next. I think I'm going to say running back one. You need a starting running back.
Yeah.
I like Tajay Spears. I don't know if Tajay Spears is ever going to be more than third down back. Nice change of pace guy, but that's about it. I think you need to go get somebody who can be the lead horse. Maybe not getting the lion's share of carries, and you can split with Tajay Spears and Khalil Mullings, but I think you need to upgrade from Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
So I think that is a need in the running back room. You would agree?
100%. 100%. Look, we both know that Tony Pollard can't carry this team for 4 or 5 more years. I just value Tajay Spears' style of play. It's a very gadgety style running back.
Right.
Like, I get what you're saying. Can't be your every down back. He can get you those 3 to 4 yards you need, but he's not going to get you to the end zone.
And he hasn't stayed healthy all that much, which is like, yeah, I think he was more explosive than Tony Pollard, but if you gave him Tony Pollard's amount of touches, I don't think he would hold up over a 17-game season.
Not at all.
So I like Tajay Spears. He should be on the roster next year, but not as your lead horse. He's your RB1. I think you need to go find somebody. Free agency is where I lean for that. I've mentioned Breece Hall plenty. I think Kenneth Walker, if he gets out of Seattle, would be a good option too. So there are options there at running back. I think you need 2 wide receivers. I think you need one in the draft, one in free agency. That's nothing against Chim Dike and Alec Iamaner. I like them. But I don't think you can bank on those guys being long-term starting options for you at wide receiver. You hope that's what they develop into, right? You hope 3 years down the road, Chim Dike's in your slot and Alec Iamaner could be your wide receiver too. That's what you hope for. I don't know if you can bank on it, given some of the inconsistencies we saw, especially from Iamaner throughout the season. So I think you need 2. I think you need a veteran, and I think you need a draft pick at wide receiver.
So let me pose this question to you, Jake. Looking at, you say you got to get 2 wide receivers, one in the draft, one in free agency. Do you wager a lot of money on getting somebody from free agency that is a already solidified wide receiver 1? Or do you wait, gamble it a little bit, get you a budget guy, go to the draft, maybe gamble a little bit, hopefully you get a decent prospect of a name, and then go about your day? How do you approach that?
I think that depends on how Mike Borgonzi views this draft at wide receiver. And that's why it's nice that you have free agency before of he can say, all right, we look at the draft, we're not going to take a wide receiver at 4 if that's his plan. And we don't feel great about somebody getting to us at 35 that we really like. So we're going to be aggressive in free agency and go get one of the top guys on the market. But if he really likes the wide receiver class and maybe is thinking about taking one at 4, maybe you go a little more bargain bin shopping in free agency. I don't know. That's going to be sorted out, but I think you need 2 in some form or fashion, whether that's taking one high in the draft and bringing in a veteran mid-market kind of guy in free agency, or spending big on Alec Pierce, or I know Jawan Jennings might cost you a decent amount, going big there and then getting a day 2 kind of guy at wide receiver. George Pickens is the name that people are going to bring up. He's going to cost you a lot of money, but he also had 1,400 yards last year.
It's true.
So, I mean, that is a young guy with wide receiver 1 production. I'm not ready to say that George Pickens is going to be a wide receiver 1 throughout his whatever deal he gets, but wide receiver 1 production last year at 25 years old?
Yeah.
So I can see why there would be interest there. I don't see the Titans going after him.
I don't think he's going to make it out of Dallas.
I agree.
I think Jerry's going to say, I want the guy. Let him stay here.
At the very least, I think he gets tagged. And then if they don't want to keep him, they try and find a trade partner.
It's true.
But it doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you have the ability to keep George Pickens to just let him walk for nothing. So I think George Pickens ends up sticking around. So I would take him off the board. If he gets to free agency, Titans, sure, kick the tires on him. See if the behavior and some of the culture stuff is going to be an issue.
Yep.
But I don't think it ends up being an option for the Titans. So we got backup quarterback, 1 running back, 2 wide receivers. How do you feel about tight end? This is one that I kind of put a question mark next to because Chigakonkwo is a free agent.
Right.
I really like Gunnar Helm. I think you need a tight end in some fashion, but it becomes the question of how much do you believe Gunnar Helm is ready to take the next step? If you think he is going to be tight end 1, going to be on the field a ton, then maybe you don't have as big of a need and you could deal with David Martin Robinson and maybe you bring in that blocking tight end. But if you're not as firm on Gunnar Helm, maybe you do bring back Chig. Maybe you go after an Isaiah Likely or somebody like that in free agency.
I think if they bring back Chigakonkwo, I'm not worried about this tight end position one bit. I think you have 2 guys that can actually lead your offense going forward. Again, with Robert Saleh coming into the fold now, he even talked about learning in New York. There are things that Chigakonkwo can still learn in his game that I think he can do here in Nashville. I think he can learn how to block a little bit better. Sure, he's a pretty good pass catcher as a tight end. But again, when you have a guy that is still developing as a player, you don't really want him to be continuing to develop after his rookie deal. I get all that.
Right.
But this is a new beginning in Titans football. And I think that's something you got to put into factor when having a young core because Chigakonkwo is still fairly young. That's a guy that can still produce. So, I mean, if you compare him to Isaiah Likely, I mean, again, the Titans passed up on Likely when they had him opportunity in the draft. That's a different play style tight end. Again, that's a more of a pass catching, going deep threat as a tight end. And I think Chigakonkwo brings a lot more of those intangibles as a player rather than a guy like Isaiah Likely.
Titans have a big offseason ahead, filling out the coaching staff, but player acquisition is going to be a big difference in whether this team is able to take a step in 2026. We've gone through some of the skill positions. We're going to hit the offensive line. We'll hit defense as well throughout the hour. But let's go to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Adam in Portland is called in. Adam, thanks for calling. Good morning.
What's up, man? Hey, a couple things. Number one, I don't think it's like the craziest thing in the world to say Levis could be backup. Like, dude, yeah, you already got him. It's not going to cost you any more money. If Dable is going to make Cam better, he'll probably make Will Levis better too. And it would be good that, I mean, Cam all season long had nobody push him. We saw how good Brandon Allen was, man, and it was not good. So if he just had a quarterback that's practicing with him every day, that was kind of pushing him not to say overtake him for the job. That's kind of stupid, but just to push him in practice. Because I don't think Levis sucks, man. I thought he did before I realized who Brian Callahan really was, but I don't think he is anymore, man. So I don't know. I sit here, I think about you going into an impossible thing for Callahan to be for Levis to be the backup. I don't think that's the case. Also, Chig, man, he's not coming back. Y'all got to move on past him. He gave his farewell letter to the fans, and I don't think there's any coaching staff member that's on there right now that's going to love him the way we did. So. No, man, that's the two. But I do think the backup quarterback is going to be huge. I don't know who they're going to be. They probably won't be Will Levis, but I wouldn't be opposed to it.
See, Adam, I understand your point, and Corey Curtis has said the same thing of Will Levis being back as the backup wouldn't be
honest,
that bad.
Jake. Tell us how you feel.
My problem with Will Levis is not that I don't think he can be good, right? It has nothing to do with his talent. It's just the overall situation of, does Will Levis add anything for Cam Ward? No. I think bringing in a veteran who's been through it before and can mentor Cam Ward is better. Will Levis is, a year older than Cam Ward? If that. Like, Will Levis is not a net positive for Cam Ward. And I don't think Will Levis wants to be here. I don't think the Titans really want Will Levis in the building. If they did, he would have been in the building this past year instead of sitting out on the coast in California.
He would have been at the press conference.
I don't know if the press conference, but like, he had surgery on his AC joint. Like, yes, I know he had to recover. He never came back. If they wanted him around, wouldn't he have been in the building? That's where I am. It has nothing to do with Will Levis's ability as a player, but he's never going to be the starting quarterback here again. and he doesn't add anything for Cam Ward. That's why I don't think Will Levis is going to be back as the backup.
That's fair. I mean, I can't disagree with any of that.
But I understand that, yes, you have him. He's cheap. I get it. You have $100 million in cap space. Is $7 or $8 million on a decent backup quarterback really going to hamstring you that much? I don't think so.
Nah. I mean, the grand scheme of it all, nah.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. On the other side, we'll talk offensive line, because the Titans, I think you can see that there's going to be continuity on the offensive line, but there are a couple of spots I think the Titans need to address this offseason. 615-737-1025. Let's give something away. Be caller number 3 right now at 615-737-1025, and you can win a 4-pack of tickets to the Athletes Unlimited Pro Basketball game at Municipal Auditorium tomorrow at 5:30. It is such a fun experience. You've got players like Alicia Clark, a Mount Juliet native who plays for the Las Vegas Aces, Tahina Paupau, who is just on a couple of South Carolina national championship teams, Anissa Morrow, who is with LSU. Tons of fun tomorrow night, 5:30 Municipal Auditorium. Be caller number 3 right now, and you can win a 4 pair of tickets. That is at 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game.
No, I'm like I said, I think I speak for everyone. You know, we're really excited about the roster. You can call it a blank canvas if you want, but there's also some veteran leadership that you can't forget about. There's some really, really cool talent on this football team, and just excited to get to work with all of them.
That was Robert Saleh talking about some of the young pieces he already has on this roster. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly. We're looking at what the Titans need to add to this roster. And I do want to start on the offensive line coming off of that answer from Robert Saleh, because he's talking about some young pieces, developing talent. Right guard is an interesting position for this Titans team. And we've gone through some of the needs. That's what we're doing this hour, is going through all of the spots we feel like the Titans need a player this offseason, whether that's in free agency or the draft. We've come up with backup quarterback, probably a starting running back, 2 wide receivers, and a tight end. Right guard, the belief in Jackson Slater is going to be a big question this offseason. When the Titans drafted him, I think there was a wide feeling among fan base. Even the Titans have said as much, that they felt like they might have gotten a steal as a developmental pick late in the draft. Do they believe in him to step in year 2 and be the starting right guard is the question. I would say at the very least, you've got to bring in some competition for him at right guard.
Yeah. You have to see what he learned in year 1. You know, in year 1, you got to absorb everything like a sponge. Year 2, apply it. In year 3, you're hopefully the starter type thing. That's my motto going into anything.
Yep.
But I agree, Jake. You have to have some form of competition, because without competition, you don't really have anything. You're not learning. You got to grow as a player. And when you don't have somebody going up against you shoulder to shoulder or going up in front of you on the defensive side of the ball in practice, what's there to learn? Obviously, you learn from your steps and your blocks when your hands and stuff, but like, you got to learn from somebody else that's on the other side of the ball.
Yeah, I think we're going to learn a lot about how the Titans feel about Jackson Slater based on what they do in free agency.
Sure.
If they go make a Kevin Zeitler type move, I don't think they're bringing Zeitler back, but somebody mentioned Joel Bitonio, another older, established guy who's probably looking for a 1-year deal, just kind of floating around the league at this point. If you go get him, he's probably going to be your starter. But if the Titans maybe just say, all right, here's another developmental guy coming off his rookie deal. He's been good, but we want to see what Jackson Slater can do. I think that'll tell you what you need to know about Jackson Slater. But I think in some form or fashion, they need to add an interior offensive lineman who can compete with Jackson Slater this year.
Yeah, and you make a good point about it being a veteran guy you grab in free agency, because you want to make sure in the process of all this, seeing if Jackson Slater is the guy or not, you want to make sure you can keep your quarterback upright. And if Jackson Slater can't keep the quarterback upright, then you're going to have a good safety net.
I'm happy with continuity on this offensive line. Dan Moore's not going anywhere. He's going to be your left tackle this year. Peter Skoronski obviously is your left guard. Mm-hmm. Cushenberry is a question mark. I think they're going to keep him around. As he recovered from that Achilles injury, he got better throughout the season.
Right.
And then, of course, J.C. Latham's your right tackle. I think you're keeping 4 out of the 5. Right guard is that spot of, do you believe in the young player in Slater, or do you feel like you need to go get another Band-Aid until he's ready, or maybe you go find somebody else who's the long-term solution there? Yeah. I like Slater, but again, he was what, a 5th-round pick? I don't know if you can completely say, based on the little you saw of him in his rookie season, that yes, that's our right guard for the next 5 to 10 years.
I mean, I know Big Joe's all about some Jackson Slater. Loves him some Jackson Slater. Again, you got to just see the actual proof in the pudding if that's going to take the case this year. And again, the veteran aspect of this, bringing in that Band-Aid, is what the Titans really need. I don't think you need to go supplement somebody in free agency and say, hey, this is our starter for the next 3 to 4 years. Because again, you got to figure out what you have from the old regime of the drafting process.
Yeah.
And if you like that old regime, then you can kind of, like you mentioned earlier with the nickel position and also the wide receiver position, that you can get away with it a little bit in free agency and then go to the draft.
So on offense, we've got backup quarterback, a running back, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a guard. 6 needs, and I'm going to add a 7th. I think you need a swing tackle. Ali Udoh was fine this year. He was better than you might expect for somebody who I don't think many Titans fans had even thought about heading into training camp, and had to step in a couple of times in some tough situations with J.C. Latham out. Dan Moore was in and out of the lineup for a little bit there. He was fine. I do think you need an upgrade there, and it can come in a couple of different ways. My preference would be go sign somebody in free agency. And there's a name we've talked about, Jermaine Illuminor, who followed Titans' new offensive line coach Carmen Russillo from Las Vegas to New York. He's been a good tackle. I don't think he's going to cost that much, and he might be open to the idea of being your third tackle who can step in on either side. That's my favorite solution. But I would also understand if the Titans got to a point in the draft where guy falls to you at tackle, Dan Moore is not a long-term solution at left tackle, and if a tackle is the best player on your board in the second or third round, you take him, you let him sit behind Dan Moore for a year as your swing tackle, and then he steps in long-term as your left tackle in 2027.
As much as that sounds, well, it does sound logical, obviously, but I can't get on board with that because, again, I look back at what has Robert Saleh learned as a former head coach of New York and coming to Tennessee, and that is not surrounding everything around one person, which was at the time Aaron Rodgers. And if you look at those last two drafts he was a part of, a lot of those guys were offensive guys. And again, he wasn't able to supplement on the defensive side of the ball, which everybody I think knows this Titans defense needs a lot more from the draft than they do out of free agency. Sure, you can grab some guys that are going to be your I guess, rotational pieces in some aspects, but you got to, I think this draft specifically has to be the foundational piece for this defense.
And we'll talk about that coming up next. We've got the offensive needs down. And again, I have this all written out, and I'm excited at the end of the offseason, we're going to fill in the blanks here and see if the Titans were able to, at least on paper, fill these holes that we feel like they need to heading into 2026. So on offense, backup quarterback, running back, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a right guard, and a swing tackle. 7 needs on the offensive side of the ball. We'll talk defense on the other side. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly with you. Going through an offseason plan for the Titans. Coaching staff is almost in place, so it becomes player acquisition season through free agency and the draft. And we're just setting out, what do the Titans need this year? You got $100 million in cap space. You got a decent amount of draft picks, 4th overall pick. Got your own 2nd, your own 3rd, a couple of 4ths, I believe. Sorry. Tyler Luke missed the field goal. So a couple of 5ths. But you've got resources. And we've gone through the offensive needs. Backup quarterback. I think a starting running back at the very least, you need someone else in that room because I think Tony Pollard's gone. 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a right guard, an offensive tackle to be your swing tackle. Defense. Let's start on the edge because I think that is one of the most pressing needs. I view it the same way I view wide receiver. You need 2, 1 in free agency, 1 in the draft.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you can't go wrong with that one. I'm intrigued. I keep thinking in my head, Arden Key, are they going to bring him back? Are they not going to bring him back? He's mentioned that before. I don't think under Saleh that'll be the case.
Yeah.
One name that attracts me a little bit that was on a lot of draft boards when he was drafted was Yetur Gross-Matos out of Penn State.
Yeah, and he played for Saleh out in San Francisco.
Correct. So that might be a reoccurring player there that might join Saleh here in Nashville. If that is the case, his current market value is looked at is $3.5 million. So it's inexpensive. That could be just a plug-in guy for one season and see what you can do.
Yeah, I view it again. I think the same way as wide receiver is like what you're doing it for should play a role in your plan in free agency. Not that Mike Borgonzi doesn't know who's going to be on the board at 4,
right,
but I think you're going to have a decent idea of we want to go edge, we want to go wide receiver based on how you value those prospects. If you're going to go edge at 4, like if you think Ruben Bain is going to be there and you think he's your guy and you like David Bailey too, and you feel like, all right, one of those guys is going to be there for us, we're going to take him, then I think you don't have to go as expensive in free agency. You get a guy who can maybe be a rotational guy, somebody who can start off the top, but maybe you hope Femi Oladejo would eventually surpass him on the edge.
Yep.
But if you're like, oh man, we really like the wide receivers, I will say, quick tangent, Mekhi Lemon is kind of flying up draft boards. Everybody I'm hearing from and, reading stuff, he's gone from like middle of the first round to he's sneaking into the top 10. I don't know if he ends up getting all the way to 4, but like maybe that's the guy who ends up being the first wide receiver off the board.
That guy's special.
So
what he did at USC, special player.
If you end up feeling like Lemon or Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson, if you're like, that's our guy, then maybe you go get a Jalen Phillips in free agency or something like that, who can be that higher end edge rusher for you. So I view it the same way as wide receiver. I think one of your first pick's going to be one of those 2 positions. It's going to be a wide receiver or an edge rusher.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think you need to get like one of your big acquisitions in free agency needs to be one of those positions as well.
Yeah. I said the last break that it has to be through the draft for the defensive side of the ball. And I'm still on that camp. Just some pieces. I'm not saying, so for me, I don't know what's on your sheet there, but edge rusher for me, potential corner, nickel corner, that is.
Need lots of corners.
Oh, yeah, but I'm trying to build through the draft because, that corner market can be a little pricey at times. If you want a perennial corner.
No, you're right.
Yeah. And again, I'm not sure where Borgonzi wants to spend his money, or Amy's money, that is. If they want to spend it a lot on the offensive side of the ball or defensive side of the ball, if I'm the Titans, you got to at least kind of what you're alluding to, volume of players in free agency on the defensive side of the ball, but get your core pillar pieces in the draft.
I think the Titans, they'll make a couple of big moves in free agency. Like I think they're not going to be bargain bin shopping the entire time. I think there will be some big contracts, but I think you're going to see a lot of moves from the Titans.
Yeah.
Because you have all the holes we're talking about.
True.
You mentioned cornerback. I want to talk cornerback here.
Oh boy.
Because edge and wide receiver are getting the most looks as, hey, you're going to take one of those guys high in the draft. Maybe you go big in free agency. Cornerback, I think, is the most glaring, like, oh, we don't have enough bodies in that room.
Yeah.
Under contract for next year, the Titans have 2 non-L'Jarius Sneed cornerbacks.
Wow.
Marcus Harris and is it Michael Robinson, the guy they claimed off waivers from the Packers?
I believe so.
I think those are the only 2 non-L'Jarius Sneed cornerbacks on the Titans roster, and Sneed's not going to be here very long. You need at least 3 cornerbacks this offseason.
Yeah.
I would say you need a big spend on a cornerback in free agency. So we've talked like Alontae Taylor. Who's the Chiefs? Jalen.
Oh my goodness.
Jalen Watson.
Let me.
Yes.
Here.
Jalen Watson.
Yes.
Yeah. You need like one of those guys probably in free agency. Then I think you need more of a middle of the pack, can be your 4th corner type of guy. And then you need to draft one. Like, I think you need 3 cornerbacks this offseason.
I was thinking more 2 and 2. I mean, I 3x1, I get that in free agency. I think 2x2 is more of an equal aspect. Obviously, 2 and 2 is equal. But I think getting more younger talent in the draft, for me, is where I lean. I'm very sold on the make the transition, rip the Band-Aid off, and go full-on draft. Yes, you need some pieces. Don't spend the almighty dollar on it. I think just grabbing guys off the draft and then see what you can do afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I think you need to spend at least one of your top 4 picks on a cornerback.
Yep.
Maybe you go 2. And again, free agency, I think, is going to give us a little glimpse inside what the Titans draft strategy is going to be. It always does.
Yeah.
Like last year, there was still questions during free agency of, are the Titans sold on Cam Ward? Are they going to take Cam Ward? When they only signed Brandon Allen at quarterback, it told you they're taking Cam Ward.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see a glimpse into that strategy of what they value in the draft based on what they do in free agency. But I think cornerback, you need bodies in that room because, again, you don't have any.
I'm trying to grasp in my brain right now of where you want to spend your allotted amount of money. I'm not saying spend all of it all at once, but like I'd say spend majority of it because you're talking about cornerbacks. I'd say you spend 2 players specifically, a lot of that money, I'd say, towards those guys.
Yeah.
And then maybe you grab a guy on the offensive side of the ball and spend a little bit of majority of that. Leave you with probably about a quarter of what you're left with.
I would guess the Titans are going to make, again, this is all just me speculating on Titans have this amount of money, this amount of needs. I think they're going to make 2 big moves in free agency.
Okay.
Like upwards of $15 million a year. Like 2 big moves for a corner and a wide receiver, or a wide receiver and an edge rusher, something like that. And then I think it's going to be a lot of $5 to $8 million deals here and there to just fill out the bottom of the roster.
Mm-hmm.
But cornerback has to be at the top of the list for both free agency and the draft because you just don't have players there.
Do you see the Titans making any form of trades with other teams to kind of supplement this defensive roster?
That's a very good question because I would say the Titans should lean away from trades. I get it. There are some guys out there who you might be able to get for some value. And sure, if there's guys that other teams want to get rid of and you can get an established pass rusher or an established corner for a 5th round pick who's going to be better than what you could get in free agency. Yes, the Titans should not be giving up any of their high draft capital to go get players right now.
Yeah.
You did it with L'Jarius Sneed because you felt like you could accelerate the rebuild and get, we can contend. L'Jarius Sneed's going to come in. He's going to be a lockdown cornerback. And it blew up in your face. You need young players, young, controllable, cheap players, and you get those in the draft. You cannot be trading away 2nd and 3rd round picks for players right now. That's just not where this team is at this point.
Oh, 100%. I wouldn't be trading away any top, 3 round picks at all. No, I mean, maybe a 5 or a 6 potentially. Obviously a 7 to not be too shabby, but yeah, you can't give away your top 4 rounds. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And again, I don't think Mike Borgonzi would ever do anything like that, but you look at the trade market, if that is the case for the Titans, or excuse me, the free agent market, that is, wonder what Mike Borgonzi does when it comes to these contractual obligations, if there's going to be opt-outs after 2 years or whatever that may be.
Yeah.
Because we've seen that in the last couple of additions. You look at Dan Moore Jr. has an opt-out after what, year 2, year 3?
It's zero dead money if they cut him after next year.
So there you go. That's another thing that you look at for a guy like Mike Borgonzi, and if he can kind of cook up or conjure whatever he's trying to do.
Right. No, it's people freaked out when they saw the Dan Moore contract last year. 4 years, $80 million. It's a 2-year deal.
Yeah.
They can get out of it for absolutely nothing next year. So on defense, 2 edge rushers, I got 3 corners.
Okay.
Only other spots that I look at, like I feel good about the safety group. You could add a body here or there. Fine. Linebacker's an interesting one for me because
Add one.
You think a linebacker? Yeah. I'm kind of with you there. I like the 3 that you have right now. Gray, Barton, and I think James Williams fits better in a 4-3. And you're going to be running so much nickel probably that only 2 of those guys are going to be out there at a time, most likely.
That's fair.
But I do think you could venture into free agency and get another body in there to compete because Cody Barton, he had his moments. He was fine. I think you could certainly upgrade there. And good linebackers do hit free agency. Like, that's just not a premium position. It's like running backs where good players do hit free agency because teams value other spots more. So I think there could be an addition at linebacker there.
Yeah, and again, you add an extra linebacker barring injury. That is the safety net case for me. You go grab a linebacker in free agency. And again, to your point, you're probably spending roughly $5 million to $7 million on a linebacker,
yep,
which you can afford to do at that point because you got over $100 million in cap space. So that's just something to look at. I'm curious, Jake, looking at this free agent market when it comes to cornerbacks. Obviously, Roger McCreary was somebody that they sent off to LA. Would you be in favor of bringing a guy like that back?
I don't know if it fits. Like, if you think Marcus Harris can be your nickel, then you don't bring in McCreary because he's going to be nickel only.
Right.
But if Marcus Harris, if they don't truly believe he can be that guy, then maybe you would consider it. But I think they told you how they feel about Marcus Harris when they traded away Jarvis Brownlee and Roger McCreary last year.
That's
so
fair.
We will see. But that's the Titans needs list. Actually, and I didn't mention this. I think you need a 3rd defensive tackle too. Kind of like we were talking about with swing tackle. Like Simmons and Sweat, if Saleh likes Sweat, I think are good in the middle. But I think you need a 3rd body in there because I think Sebastian Joseph Day is a free agent after this year.
I think so.
You could bring him back. That wouldn't be horrible.
Yeah, I mean, you also got to remember who's out there as well that has been with the Titans before, and that's Danico Autry.
Yeah, that's fair. He's getting up there in age, though. I don't know how much longer he's going to want to play.
Look, I know age is just a number in some aspects. I think interior defensive lineman, you can play into your 30s.
He's got to go to the Jaguars to complete his tour of the AFC South.
Yeah, you could do that if you want.
I think that's the only option for him. 615-737-1025. Duval. Those are our needs for the Titans. And I've got these mapped out. 14 needs is what I've got down with what we just went through. You've got the resources to fill it, but I think you're going to be busy in free agency. Couple of big deals, but for the most part, I think you're going to be filling these needs with those mid-market type of guys in free agency. We got a couple of texts that we'll get to on the other side. Also, the Pro Bowl is tonight. Did anyone know? Did anyone care? We'll talk about that as well to wrap up hour number 2. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly with you, finishing up hour number 2 on this Tuesday. We've spent the hour going through the Titans' needs for the offseason. We came up with 14 of them, and I will run through them quickly for you. Backup quarterback. You need a running back. You need 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a right guard, and a swing tackle on the offensive side. Then on defense, a backup defensive tackle, 2 edge rushers, a linebacker, and I got 3 cornerbacks that you need on that side of the ball. And there are probably other spots the Titans feel like they can upgrade at as well, but I think those are needs. And there are a couple of texts on the text line that I wanted to get to. Keegan says, this needs segment is the perfect breakdown of how it takes multiple years to build a full team. There's a ton of needs, and we certainly can't get 4 to 8 year legit 4 to 8 year guys at every position. Got to do what we can this offseason and hopefully be better during the season and finish building. It is tough that it's pretty much every year where we say you can't fill all of these needs in 1 year. And long-term, you definitely can't. But I think there is a way to get better Band-Aids in some of these spots until you have the ability to fill them with long-term pieces.
That's why I'm just in the camp of go to the draft. I know you got to get some free agent players. I get all that for the depth purpose. But if you're wanting to get those 4 to 8 year guys, I think obviously you have a better chance at it with the draft. But that's just where my eyes are. I'm very sold on the youth aspect of football. I think everybody is. When you have fresh legs, when you have younger talent, the ceiling is just higher for them. And that's, again, free agency's free agency. You're going to get your rotational guys. That's just how I look at it. I don't see those guys as over-the-top type players.
You're using our language here on the show. Ceiling and floor. You raise the floor in free agency, you raise the ceiling in the draft. And that's kind of what the Titans need to do, but you only have so many draft picks, which is why Skylar on the text line says, would you be willing for the Titans to trade down from 4 to maybe 9 or 10 and get another second and third or something like that? Yes, 100%. Takes 2 to tango, though. There has to be somebody worth trading up for and a partner that wants to come to your spot. If that's the case, I would love a trade back. You could get Mekhi Lemon or one of the pass rushers like Cassius Howell or something like that, or Keldrick Falk.
Arnell Reese.
Reese. I think Reese is going to go second.
Really?
That's my guess at this point. Long way to go till the draft, but that would be my guess. I think you trade down and you could still get a really good player and pick up another day 2 pick. I would love to trade back, but it takes 2 to tango, because that's what we're saying. You need more young pieces who you think can be long-term 5 to 10 year solutions for you. You don't find those in free agency all the time. You do find them in the draft. You just only have so many throws at the dartboard right now, which is why a trade back would be great. You just need to find a right partner.
And it's tough looking at the current lineup of the draft picks. I mean, you're probably going to get somebody to probably talk with you from number 7 all the way to about 12, because we know Dallas is always in the conversation of adding whatever piece it may be. I mean, looking at Washington, you don't have your OC anymore. Kingsbury's out of there. You wonder they try to supplement getting a wide receiver. Nobody really knows. I don't know, but I think in that 7 to 12 range is where you're going to get some movement.
Yeah, we don't know. There's so long to go till the draft, and with the quarterback draft the way it's falling, it doesn't seem like there's an obvious partner for a trade.
Right.
But these things happen night of, right? Like you'll see the trade up for number 1 happen weeks to a month before the draft. And even sometimes at number 2, when there are quarterbacks worth having at the top. But when you're picking 4th and there's only really one quarterback who's going, if any trade's going to happen, it's going to happen while the Titans are on the clock at number 4. So we'll see. I'd love for the Titans to be able to trade down, get some more assets, and still get one of those high-level players at the top of the draft. But again, we're not going to be able to know that until April 23rd at like 7:30.
Yeah.
It's probably when we'll find out.
If that. I mean, you know where my eyeballs are, and that's next year's draft. We don't have to get to that.
Yeah, you want Mr. Smith.
I do, man. I'll take him out to dinner and show him around Nashville if he wants. I mean, if that helps the process at all, but it'll happen. I know it will.
Before we wrap up hour number 2, because we're going to get into the Super Bowl a little bit in the next hour and a couple other things. The Pro Bowl is tonight. The Pro Bowl games are tonight. It's not the Pro Bowl anymore.
Oops.
Does anyone care?
maybe that second grader that loves watching football or loves tag football, whatever. Sure. I could care less.
I know the Pro Bowl was like, it used to be more important. People never really cared about the Pro Bowl. It's like any All-Star game. There's some fun in it. You'll watch it. No one cares. I think this might be the least anyone has ever cared about an All-Star type game. Just get rid of it. Get rid of it. Joe Flacco and Shedeur Sanders are Pro Bowl quarterbacks. They asked Justin Fields to be a Pro Bowl quarterback. It's pointless. I will not be watching tonight.
I didn't even know it was going to be on tonight, to be honest with you.
I mean, Jeffrey Simmons and Chim DK are in the Pro Bowl. Good for them. Glad they get that experience. I have no reason to tune in.
You don't like seeing the quarterbacks throw at the dartboard at all? See if they get to 500 points, whatever it is.
Oh yeah, system? Like the accuracy thing.
Yeah, you don't love that? It doesn't entice you?
See, I didn't hate the skills challenge when there was an actual game, right?
Fair.
Like they did the skills challenge. I thought that was cool. Like the NBA does the skills challenge. The MLB does the home run derby. I thought that was cool. But now that is the Pro Bowl, is these games of dodgeball and stuff. Stupid.
Yeah.
I'm
tug of war.
Right. Like I said yesterday, I was like, maybe I'll tune in. I'm putting it out there now. I will not be watching. And I hope everyone joins me. Let's make the ratings so horrible that there's just no point in putting it on next year.
Boycott the Pro Bowl.
Yes. Boycott the
My
Pro Bowl.
Goodness. I never thought I'd hear the words out of Jake Lyman's mouth. This guy that eats, breathes, sleeps football.
I love football. That's
Wow.
not football.
Yeah.
Making the all-pro team is what matters. And you can look and say, all right, that's the all-pro team. Those are the best players in the sport. Being a Pro Bowler means nothing now.
It's fair.
Tyler Huntley is a Pro Bowler. Shedeur Sanders threw 10 interceptions and 7 touchdowns this year. He is a Pro Bowler. Joe Flacco played like 6 games this season, and he's a Pro Bowler.
2 different teams.
Right? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe the AFC quarterbacks are exclusively Browns and Bengals quarterbacks this year. It is Joe Burrow, who played like 5 games, Joe Flacco, who played maybe 8, and then Shedeur Sanders.
You know, the Pro Bowl, again, to your point, used to have so much pageantry to it. The fact that you'd have 2 teams go up against each other, go at it. And also, you look at the jerseys. They don't wear jerseys anymore. They're people call them jerseys.
T-shirts, yeah.
T-shirt jerseys. There was a cool design with all that.
And it was in Hawaii.
Yeah, it's lost its gusto. It just, like you said, get rid of it. At least revamp it somehow. Another try to revamp with the Pro Bowl games. But do a kicking contest. Do something.
There was at the very least, you're right, there was tradition with the Pro Bowl for a long time. And even if the game was stupid and no one really cared about the game itself, I think people looked at this past Sunday between conference championship games and the Super Bowl and said, it's Pro Bowl weekend. I don't view that as Pro Bowl weekend. I'm just like, oh, it's just a week between conference championship and the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
They need to either change. They're never going to go back, right? Like it's never going to go back to the way it was. Just get rid of it.
I don't know, Jake. Never say never.
It's never going to go back to the way it was.
Never say never.
The safety of, I don't think the players would agree to it because it's like, why would we sign up for, even though you're not getting hit as hard unless Sean Taylor was on the field, it's still a chance to get injured. The players are never going to sign up for it. So just get rid of it.
Then what about the flag football game? Don't they still do that for the Pro Bowl games?
Yeah.
I mean, they can still get hurt.
I guess, but like,
I get it. They're wearing pads. Other ones are not wearing pads. You got flags. The other ones got their hands and they wrap up and tackle. I get all that. Why can't we just do it like a scrimmage when you're in practice where you just have your uppers on, you have the helmet, the shoulder pads, no pants, and you just wrap up the tackle. That's all you got to do. Don't take them to the ground. Wrap up. There will be one or two guys.
That's basically what the Pro Bowl was. Like they would blow the whistles basically the second contact was made.
But what I'm saying is you just don't put the pants on, and it gives that extra significance of like, look, this is just wrap up and tackle. I know it's not the Pro Bowl the way it used to be, but still just gives the extra precedent. Just wrap up and tackle.
The lack of tackling was how Mac Jones had that crazy run for a touchdown in his Pro Bowl season, and he did the gritty in the end zone. Like
awful gritty.
It was the Pro Bowl has never been at least in the last like 15 years. It's never been good, but at least it kind of meant something. Like it had the tradition behind it. Now it's got nothing. I will not be watching tonight. I hope everyone joins me. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Rant over. Let's talk Super Bowl, because that's the game that actually does matter this week out in Santa Clara. The week rolling on, I'm still on Seattle, but I do want to have a conversation about if the Patriots win. What does that mean for Drake May moving forward? We'll talk about it next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Final hour on this Tuesday. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Talked a lot of Titans in hour number 2, but it is Super Bowl week. We are 5 days away from Super Bowl 60. The Seattle Seahawks, the New England Patriots, facing off once again, 11 years removed from the Malcolm Butler interception. Crazy that was 11 years ago.
Time flies when you're having fun, apparently.
I guess so. I mean, Malcolm Butler played half a decade here in between. So going to be a fun one. I'm still on Seattle, right? I said yesterday, early prediction, 31-23 Seahawks would be my guess.
The more and more I wait for this game, the more and more I start leaning towards the New England Patriots.
Really?
I really am. Just because I just think Mike Vrabel knows how to prepare for these type of games. Defensively, I mean, offensively, we'll see Drake May, I guess, facilitate the ball a little bit, but just be a game manager. And that's something that Vrabel did a really good job with here in Nashville. I know a lot of people go, what about the Tannehill picks game? I'm like, forget about that. All right, just forget about that for right now. With Drake May at the helm for this offense of New England, this is where they can capitalize on the youth of a quarterback instead of the back end of a quarterback. That makes sense.
Drake May is an interesting subject in this because he hasn't really done much in the playoffs so far. He's done enough, right? The defense has held up. He's made the plays when he's needed to.
Yep.
But I asked the question, if the Patriots do win this game and Drake May is a Super Bowl champion and an MVP finalist at the very least, we'll find out if he is the MVP Thursday, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
How do you view him among the league's top quarterbacks?
I think he's top 10. I don't think he's top 5.
Okay.
I mean, postseason wise.
I'm saying just in general. It's like,
yeah.
as you look at the top quarterbacks in the league, I think we've all kind of, at least I've circled off a tier of Mahomes, of course. He's earned that.
Yep.
Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, I think, have earned what they've done in the regular season. They haven't done the postseason, but I think you have to view them towards the top as well. And this might be controversial. I'm still putting Joe Burrow in that top tier. He wasn't healthy this year. His defense hasn't helped him a ton, but he's proven he can get it done in the playoffs. And last year, even despite the team not doing well, he had MVP numbers. If he has another down year, I can reconsider, but I'm going to keep Burrow in that conversation for now.
Joe Burrow, for me, he adds up into that Andrew Luck category. Like, we know he's a pretty good quarterback, but does he really want it? Does he really want to play football anymore? Because after those press conferences to wrap up the year, it doesn't seem like it. And it is also, too, we get he's good, but is he great? And I get you put him in and you're still putting him in the category. For me, I can't put him in there just yet. And there's one name that I think we know is going to be the MVP. I put Stafford up there with Mahomes, 100%.
I kind of put Matthew Stafford in a tier of his own. I don't
Really?
know what to do with Matthew Stafford because it's like he is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but I don't view him the same way as those 4 that I just mentioned. I think probably mostly age. It's like Stafford's considering retirement right now. So
yeah,
I can't really put him in that top tier. But yes, I mean, he might be the MVP this year. So that's an interesting conversation to have about Stafford. I don't think Drake May, I don't think I could put him, even if he wins the Super Bowl, which people may disagree with that because I'm putting Allen and Jackson and Burrow, who haven't won the Super Bowl, in there. I don't think Drake May is quite in that top tier yet. I think he would be just on the outside of it, and next year he could solidify it as one of those elite top-level quarterbacks in the league. But after just 1 year, even if he is the MVP and wins the Super Bowl, I understand, like, it'd be hard to argue that he's not there as an MVP winner and a Super Bowl winner.
Right.
I just don't know if I can say after 1 year that I'm ready to put him in that group with Mahomes and Allen and Jackson and Burrow.
Look, I'm different when it comes to the Burrow aspect of it. If it's tier 1, it's Stafford, Mahomes for me. Tier 2, Jackson, Allen. Tier 3 would be, I think, the Joe Burrow realm. That's where I see Drake May lining up.
Okay.
Again, that's where I'm at. And some people can differentiate with this because quarterbacks are different in the playoffs. And we've seen that Drake May has not been the same quarterback that he was in the regular season. I get all that. But you're talking about as a lump sum, I would have to put him in a tier 3.
I think one of the biggest attributes that makes an elite quarterback is the sustainability of it, right?
Right.
Of being able to do it year after year. How many quarterbacks have we seen have one great season and then falter off? Even you look at a guy like Cam Newton, who Cam Newton won an MVP. He didn't win a Super Bowl. He came up just short, but that team was 15-1 in the regular season. You'd be hard pressed to say that Cam Newton wasn't an elite quarterback at that time, but he didn't have the longevity of it. And we don't look back at the 2010s and put Cam Newton in the tier of Manning, Brady, Roethlisberger, Breeze.
That's fair.
We don't talk about him like that, which is why I struggle after one good year to put Drake May into that tier.
You got to look at what he does with his legs and compare that to a Josh Allen and a Lamar Jackson, because what he's done with his legs in the postseason is definitely Josh Allen stature, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then you look at the arm talent. He's got the arm talent, but also look at the wide receivers he's throwing to. Keyshawn Butte, Mac Hollins,
Stephon Diggs,
on
the backside of his career.
Exactly. That's a guy that's a consistent 5 and out, 5 and in type guy. Where then you look at your tight ends, Austin Hooper, and then the other one that's escaping me,
Hunter Henry.
Hunter Henry, thank you. Where you have, I'd say, good players, but not great. He's doing this with just good players or above average players. That's where I think the talent of a Drake May elevates.
And I don't doubt that Drake May will be in that conversation at some point. I just think it's too early. And look at Jalen Hurts. There were a lot of victory laps being taken after he won the Super Bowl last year and saying, put him in that top tier as he's a top 5 quarterback in the league. I heard a lot of people saying that. And I was kind of in the boat of really impressive. He has played his best 2 games of his career in Super Bowls. He lost one of them. He won one of them. But let's wait and see. This year, he wasn't very good. So, sustainability is a big part of being an elite quarterback in this league. Even if Drake May wins MVP on Thursday and wins the Super Bowl on Sunday, I'm not ready to put him at the very top of the NFL, along with the guys who have proven it for close to 10 years now.
That's fair. To me, he's still a top 10 quarterback right now in the NFL. That's no question about that. I don't think he's top 5, definitely top 10. Looking at some other names in the NFL right now, like I would go in this order. I would go Stafford, Mahomes, Allen, Jackson. You're going to hate me for this, but I'm going to go Justin Herbert. I know. Really odd.
How do you go Herbert over Burrow?
Just the sustainability of the injuries. That's simple for me right there.
But Herbert has been good in regular seasons. Burrow's been better in the regular seasons, and he's won in the playoffs.
It's fair. I'm just talking about right now.
Are you saying projecting out for these guys?
No, just this past season.
Okay, this past. Okay,
yeah, just this past season. I should have clarified, but you got right there to round out 5 Herbert, and then you go probably Dak.
Dak Prescott is severely underrated by the NFL fans as a whole. I agree with that.
I'm just putting that right there. Go Dak. Then you go a Joe Burrow, and then Drake May, and then Jaden Daniels if he doesn't get hurt. Again, I'm now speculating. I probably shouldn't put him in my top 10, but that's where I lie there. And then number 10, kind of on the fence, Jalen Hurts.
Okay. You doing that brings me to my next point of the second tier of quarterbacks is so muddled. And you could put Sam Darnold in there as well.
Sam Darnold, forgot about that. Sorry, people.
I think you see the elite guys, the guys that we've been talking about, but there is a next group of 10 guys who it's all kind of either we know what they are and they're just average.
Yeah.
Or they've shown they can be great, but they haven't done it enough. And we'll talk about that coming up next. Drake May, Sam Darnold playing in a Super Bowl. We can have the Sam Darnold conversation too of where does he rank if he wins the Super Bowl this year? Back-to-back 14-win seasons in a Super Bowl. I think you can have that conversation. We'll do that next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, 615-737-1025. Hour number 3 here on Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly with you. Super Bowl coming up on Sunday. Either Drake May or Sam Darnold is going to win a Super Bowl on Sunday. And that's led us to this conversation when you don't have Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl like he has been for almost every year in the last 7. And you don't have Josh Allen making a run to the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, some of the guys who have been considered the elite quarterbacks in the league, they're not there. So what does it mean if Drake May or Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl? And what does this next tier of quarterbacks look like? Because I was thinking about this the other day. You've got the established guys, the guys that we've named, but everybody else is kind of in this murky middle where at times they can look like those elite quarterbacks. The consistency is just not there. Darnold's had 2 really good years. Do you trust that that's going to last for another 5 to 10? Drake May, maybe MVP, maybe Super Bowl champion in year 2. Can he sustain it? Then you've got some of the other guys who have had the big years. Jalen Hurts won a Super Bowl. CJ Stroud and Jaden Daniels had 2 of the greatest rookie seasons by quarterbacks ever. Justin Herbert, you mentioned, has been really good, hasn't been able to do it in the playoffs. Like, what do we think about this second tier, and where do these two guys playing in the Super Bowl, May and Darnold, fit in, especially based on what might happen on Sunday?
Before I get to that, I just want to make a little asterisk to my top 10. I'm going to take out Jaden Daniels and put Caleb Williams in and just response to that.
Wow.
Just the injury thing. And again, it was based off this past year. And I know I left off Sam Darnold, listeners. I apologize for those that want Sam Darnold in the list. So sorry, leaving them out. But no, to your question, Jake, about just the two in the Super Bowl this year. I mean, what does that mean for a guy like Drake May? Is that what you're kind of getting at here?
Yeah, because like we mentioned the name specifically of Daniels and Stroud. And I know that they didn't go to the Super Bowl.
Right.
They didn't win MVP, but they were being crowned as the next great quarterbacks. All right, well, like you can do the Colin Cowherd. LeBron, we're good. Like Mahomes, we're good. We've got CJ Stroud now. Like people were already starting to do that of like, oh, CJ Stroud he's going to be the next great thing. And same with Jaden Daniels last year after going to the NFC Championship game. Right. Oh my goodness, we've got the next superstar. And they both have taken pretty significant steps back. Daniels, of course, is mostly due to the injuries.
Right.
I just don't know if you can say even Drake May has been phenomenal this season. No one can doubt that and say that he hasn't been. But is he going to be that guy for the long term is the question. That's why I'm not quite ready, no matter what happens on Sunday, to push him into that elite tier of NFL quarterbacks.
It's not what he's doing on the field. It's what the team can do around him next season to make this be sustainable. I think he has all the intangibles in his game to make this a sustainable thing for him to be in the playoffs and be successful, because he's shown it with his legs. Sure, the throwing stuff hasn't really gone well for him because obviously you have to look at the circumstances. It was snowing in Denver. That has to play a factor into this. It was snowing in New England. Plays a factor in this. Seems like he's not a cold weather guy. He's going to have to adapt to that because he's playing in New England. But no, just that's something that you'll have to see going forward, and it's just only time will tell. As for a guy on the other hand with Sam Darnold, you're right. He's performed at a high level back-to-back years with two different teams and two different systems. That to me would be a little bit more of a concrete evidence of that could be sustainable. That I think is where you can say you can be in the top 10.
Yeah, that's fair. I really do think it's 15 names that you could probably put in there and argue that and that's beyond the top four.
Right.
Right. Like, let's say we'll go with the four that I named. I know you're not as high on Burrow, but let's say everybody agrees that it's Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, Burrow. I know they don't, but let's just say for the sake of argument, there's 6 spots left for the top 10. I really think there might be 15 names you could put in and have some sort of argument.
Yeah. I mean, that's the NFL, though. The NFL is a quarterback-driven league where you actually have decent talent. But again, to your point, that murky middle, you can throw anybody there.
Right. It's who is going to be able to elevate and sustain. And like Drake May would be in there, Caleb Williams, CJ Stroud, Bo Nix. I'm not a huge Bo Nix believer. I know you're not either. No. But like, I think he deserves to at least be in the conversation given what he did this year. Jaden Daniels, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott, you mentioned, Jalen Hurts. I really think there might be 15 guys that you could, and so add the other 4. Over half the league might have an argument that they are a top 10 quarterback in the league.
Yeah. I mean, again, I remember at the beginning of this season, Jake, we had the conversation of, and I brought it up, that the NFL is lacking quarterback talent. And that's why I thought Rodgers would be one of those guys that makes it to the playoffs and actually succeeds a little bit further than Allen, which I was wrong on. But yeah, I still think there's a lack of, I don't know if it's like the top end talent, if that makes sense. Because like you're talking about with Drake May, I think there's a lot of quarterbacks like that.
There are a lot of good quarterbacks.
Right. And I think that's what the NFL is missing right now is the greats. I think there's a lot of good talent that can finish out that top 5 is what you're talking about.
Right.
But still missing that top end guy.
That's just, I really think there's arguments for like some of these guys, you could have them as high as 5 and as low as like 17. And there could be an argument for both. And that's why it's tough to judge these quarterbacks. Cause I mean, and maybe that's a reason why we're seeing the elite quarterbacks miss the playoffs this year.
It's fair.
And not make it to the Super Bowl is because the gap is a little bit closer between all of these quarterbacks and the rosters are making more of a difference, right? When Patrick Mahomes was playing at the level that he was and had a good roster around him, he was able to beat up on these quarterbacks who just weren't near that top tier. But you're seeing the elevation of some of these young guys coming into the league. The gap's getting a little bit narrower, and you're able to win those games on the margins instead of having to win purely based on your quarterback play.
Yeah, and looking at this Super Bowl between May and Darnold, I see this as a little bit of an advantage towards New England because of the way their secondary has responded this entire postseason. I mean, you look at the interceptions they had against Houston. You look at the defensive play they had going up against the Broncos. I mean, that obviously, again, circumstances of the snow and all that, but they showed up to the occasion. And as long as that team can show up to the occasion in the Super Bowl, that's why I think New England has a solid chance of winning this thing.
They get a chance. I'm still going Seattle. I think they've got a complete team.
It's fair.
Darnold's playing really well. He stepped up. He's gotten, I think, that monkey off his back of he can't win the big one. He's won a couple of really, really big games late in the regular season and, of course, in the playoffs. He's got weapons around him. That defense is playing lights out. I'm going with Seattle. I'm getting more concrete on it, I think, as we go along.
Yeah.
31-23. That's my pick.
I'll go 20. No, let's go 17-10.
Patriots?
Yes.
I think if they win, it's got to be a game like that, probably. It's got to be one of those Mike Vrabel, muddy it up and see if you can just come out on the other side on top.
Yeah, I'll go 17-13, actually. That's it. Final prediction, 17-13.
I think that favors New England. Low-scoring game, I think, favors the Patriots. If it gets up into the 20s, like I'm kind of thinking it will, I think the Seahawks end up winning. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. A couple of thoughts on the text line. 9355 asks, does Sam Darnold qualify for comeback player with a Super Bowl win? No, I think it's a year-over-year thing of like, you have to have something you're coming back from in the last year, not just like a career achievement award of you played for you got drafted by the Jets and were able to work your way back through the ranks and win a Super Bowl. Like maybe he could win comeback player of the decade, but I think comeback player of the year is from last year to this year. What did you overcome to get where you are?
And I think McCaffrey wrapped that one up. I mean, 1,000 yards receiving and rushing. That's his to take home.
I'd agree with that. Keegan puts this out there. There was a stat when Burrow went to the Super Bowl in year 2 that quarterbacks who make the Super Bowl in their second year in the league have never started a Super Bowl game again.
Yikes.
That's interesting. I mean, there's no logic to that, but it is interesting that like some of these guys that you see them get there early in their career, it's hard to get back. It really is.
It's an interesting thought because this whole entire season, don't get me wrong, what Mike Vrabel's done in New England has been nothing but phenomenal, but they've taken advantage of the situation. The situation is having one of those last place scheduled, seasons, and you're taking advantage of those wins. And again, you could call it the Disney World, Disneyland, the Super Bowl if you want, but again, if they can just make this all muddy in the Super Bowl, this could be theirs to win it all. But to Keegan's point, if they don't win, I could see Drake May missing out. I really could.
Excited for the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday. Super Bowl 60 in Santa Clara, Patriots and Seahawks, and we will have plenty of coverage throughout the week as we prepare for the big game. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We will come back. A couple more segments on the show today. Wanted to do this yesterday, but, the Barry Trotz news obviously wins the day, and we stuck on that. Wanted to talk about the coaching carousel finally being full. We've got all 10 names out there. Where does Robert Saleh slide in when you're looking at the initial rankings for these head coaching hires? We'll talk about it coming up next. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly with you. Couple more segments on this Tuesday. Chasing Big Joe coming up at the top of the hour. All of the coaching positions in the NFL are filled. All the head coaching spots. Or, excuse me, Clint Kubiak is not officially signed on to be the next head coach of the Raiders, but he will be after the Super Bowl, not allowed to actually sign until after the season is over. But we do have names in all 10 spots, and I wanted to look through and just see, where do we feel Robert Saleh slides in among the head coaching hires. I don't think I was overly thrilled when it was Saleh. I came in here and I said, it's a fine hire. I think initially I would have given it a C+. But I also said, how this hire goes is going to depend a lot on who his offensive coordinator is. And I thought Brian Daboll was a home run hire at offensive coordinator. So in totality, I'll give it, I'm borderline like B+ on Robert Saleh. Thought it was a C+ just by himself, but with the staff he started to assemble, I'll elevate it like B+, like an 86 out of 100.
B+.
Yeah.
B+, man. There's no other grade you give. I mean, you could be the homer and say, oh, A+, this is great. Nah, B+ is right where it needs to be. The fact, you made a great point, Jake. You add the guys around him that allow him to be the head coach he needs to be, and you bring in Gus Bradley, who knows his system, who knows what type of coach he is. This is what they needed all along. And the fact that there's some people out there grading this as a D or a F or something like that,
yeah,
that blows my mind.
I don't get how you could view it as a severe negative, unless you're just looking black and white at, well, Robert Saleh was 20-36 with the Jets. Why would he be good in the next spot? If that's the way you're looking at it, I think it's the wrong way to look at it, but that's how you come to the conclusion that it was a bad hire. I just think you look at the totality of Robert Saleh, what he brings as a leader, and the staff that he's surrounded himself with. I think it's a good hire. Is it? And I know we talked about John Harbaugh and the staff he's assembling in New York. I'm not sure I love the coordinator hires, but I would take John Harbaugh over Robert Saleh, right? Like I would have preferred that hire. I've said all along, I would have preferred Mike McCarthy. And as Robert Saleh has assembled his staff and you bring in an experienced guy like Daboll, I think maybe I start to like the Saleh side a little bit more, but I think McCarthy would have been a good hire here too. Outside of that, I don't know if there's a name that got hired this offseason that I would be like, yeah, I'd take him over Robert Saleh of the group that got hired.
Yeah. Again, minus the John Harbaugh of the conversation, I'm with you. I think Robert, you know how I feel about Robert Saleh.
Right, yeah. You were all in on Saleh the whole time.
He was the number one candidate on my board, and the fact that he's here in Nashville is fantastic, but maybe Kevin Stefanski? Maybe?
Stefanski's a tough one for me because, like, I would have gotten it if they did hire him, but as we went along and the more we talked about Stefanski, and I know TD didn't really love the idea of Stefanski here, and we discussed it, I don't know. I would have felt probably the same way I felt about Saleh. It would have depended a lot on his staff and his plan for Cam Ward, but I think it would have been comparable in terms of how I would feel about it.
What if Jeff Hafley was the next head coach of the Titans? How would you feel about that? Because I know you had some
I like Jeff Hafley.
Yeah.
I like Jeff Hafley. I think I prefer Saleh. The experience, the ability to learn from it. I did like that Hafley had kind of that up-and-comer vibe to him because he hadn't been a head coach at the NFL level, but also had experience being a head coach at the college level. But I think Saleh and his ability to learn from what went wrong with the Jets, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt there over Hafley. So if I'm looking at ranking it, I think Saleh for sure better hire than Todd Monken. I say better than Joe Brady.
Better than Jesse Minter?
Minter would be a tough one. I think Minter and Kubiak would be interesting ones because, like, of the guys that I would have wanted the Titans to hire who were first-time head coaches, they were towards the top of my list. I didn't want a first-time head coach, but if they did, I would have been fine with Kubiak or Minter.
Interesting. I'd still would put Saleh over those two. I really would.
Yeah. I think when it first happened, I was lukewarm on it. Of like, all right, not the worst hire by any means. Plenty of candidates I would have preferred more, preferred less. But with the staff he's assembled, retaining Bones Fossil, bringing in Brian Dable, who I think just fits exactly what you need for Cam Ward, it's growing on me more. And I think I would put it around a B+. And that's good. When you're making a hire in the coaching cycle, there's rarely going to be an A+ hire out there. Everybody's got their warts. That's why they're out there. Or lack of experience, right?
Right.
Like, so I like Robert Saleh. I think it's a B. It's a B+. Now we got to see if they can get him the right players in there.
Well, we'll get you to a B+ by the end of the show, Jake. I promise you that. I know you're in between there, but we'll get you to a B+.
On the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, Chris in Lewisburg says McCarthy and Harbaugh are way past their prime, too old. And that is a reason why I think I'm starting to, Saleh can be a long-term solution.
Yeah.
I like the idea of bringing in somebody to stabilize the franchise because you win 6 games in 2 years. You needed somebody to come in and just get the train back on the tracks. If Saleh, with the experience staff that he has, can be that guy, there is much more of a runway for him to be here for the long haul, which wasn't there with Harbaugh and McCarthy, who were in their 60s. So I do understand that point from Chris in Lewisburg.
Yeah, and looking at the Harbaugh thing, and again, back to what I said in the first hour about Harbaugh, you can go to New York and win 6 to 7 games and still be okay with that. I mean, New York Giants fans won't be okay with it, but I'm sure Harbaugh will say he won't be. But again, you're getting paid $100 million in 5 years. You're going to be all right with it.
Yep.
So.
Yep. We're going to be able to look back 5 years down the road, just like honestly, maybe not even 5 years. 2 years is kind of all it takes to know with coaches this year.
Yeah.
Look back at the guys who were hired the year Vrabel got fired. Titans brought in both Mike McDonald and Brian Callahan for interviews. One of them is coaching in the Super Bowl, along with the guy that they fired to hire Brian Callahan.
Yeah.
Not ideal.
It's not at all. And you wonder if you got the guy of the future with Robert Saleh.
And again, no one's going to know, but I think on paper, the bones of this staff look good. No pun intended with Mr. Fossil on the special team side.
The backbone.
I think I look at this and I'll say this season, I don't think coaching is going to be the reason this team fails if they fail.
What is that reason? What minus the coaching, what is that one thing on offense or defense that
if they fail?
Yeah.
This is going to sound crazy from me. It would be Cam Ward.
Holy cow.
And this is not me saying I don't believe in Cam Ward, because obviously anyone who listens to the show knows I'm a big Cam Ward believer.
Right.
If this team fails next year, it's probably because Cam Ward's not the guy. I think they're going to have resources to bring in talent around him. I think they're going to have the coaching staff that is going to be able to get the most out of it. This is a make or break year for Cam Ward. I think he still gets year 3, at least to start year 3, unless it's a complete disaster. But if this team doesn't take a step forward, it's probably because the young quarterback didn't take a step forward.
Wow. That is, you know what you just did right now, Jake? You had about probably half of Nashville that's on the Will Levis train. Just look at you.
And say, it's funny because, does this not show you that I'm not I'm going to be honest about my takes on guys. Yep. I'm not biased. I'm not looking for confirmation bias here, even though I was one of the first guys who wanted Cam Ward.
True.
If this team fails, it's probably because Cam Ward didn't take the next step.
That's fair.
They brought in the experienced coaching staff who have proven success doing what they do. Brian Dable has been a proven quarterback developer, offensive coordinator. They've got the resources to bring talent in. I guess you could say if it's not Cam Ward, it's Mike Borgonzi. Because if Borgonzi can't take advantage of the resources he has to make this roster better, then that's on him too.
Yeah, that would be a good way to look at that. I don't know. I'm just thinking if Cam Ward produces, they put 24, 25 points a game up on the board, the defense is not producing at all, I guess that would fall on the shoulders of the head coach, right?
I mean, it could. We don't know what's going to happen. They're going to play 17 games for a reason, but right. I do think that if this team doesn't take a step forward, it's probably because Cam Ward didn't take a step forward. It's kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
But I believe they're going to take a step forward because I think Cam Ward is a guy who can be a franchise quarterback, and I think Mike Borgonzi will take advantage of the resources. I just think if this team does not take the next step, it's probably because the young quarterback struggles this year.
Interesting.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll get to your thoughts on the other side. We'll wrap up the show as well. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, wrapping up the show on this Tuesday. Been a fun one, Dr. Crane.
Indeed.
We've hit on a lot. Predators, Titans, NFL, Super Bowl coming up on Sunday.
Don't forget the Pro Bowl. Come on, Jake.
I will be forgetting the Pro Bowl. As everyone should. I don't even know, like, what are they showing tonight? Is it just the flag football, or are we getting all of the games? Like, are we getting dodgeball and tug of war and all this kind of stuff? Like, I don't know.
I thought they all pre-recorded all that stuff and they just run it tonight.
Right. That's what I was wondering is, have they already done these games and they're just going to run it? And then, now we'll get into the flag football. I don't know.
I think what's going to happen is, let's see. It says 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Yeah, I guess they're just going to run everything that was pre-recorded. I definitely said it's a 7-on-7 format. So for the, flag football, but it doesn't have anything else on there. So maybe, I don't know.
There are better things to watch tonight, including basketball out in Knoxville tonight. The Vols are back in the top 25, taking on Ole Miss. Tennessee's kind of been on a roll here. Parker, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. Like, the Vols back in the top 25. I saw Joe Lunardi had them as a 6 seed last time I checked. I didn't check this morning for the
Which
new
seems
release.
a little. I'd say right now probably closer to a 5, but that's just nitpicking.
Let's see.
Just
The bracketology comes out every Tuesday morning. By the way, Vandy women's basketball a 2 seed this morning as well. Did not move. Vandy men's basketball a 4 seed as it stands with Lunardi right now, and Tennessee is a 5 seed. So moving up in Joe Lunardi's projections. Man, this would kind of be a fun region with Tennessee and Texas Tech in the same region trying to get to the Sweet 16, with the winner moving on to likely face Duke. Texas Tech, I didn't check. Who won that game last night?
Kansas won by 3.
Wow.
The Jayhawks are hot.
Yes, they are. And Darren Peterson, 19 points, 5-14 shooting. Not great.
He had 2 threes last night in crunch time to win.
Wow, he kept playing through the leg cramps. That's great. Tennessee tonight against Ole Miss, 6 o'clock tip-off on ESPN2.
Should be a win.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
Right? And I was looking at their schedule yesterday. It's setting up nicely for them to go on a little bit of a run here. And I think the next game against a ranked opponent is against Vanderbilt.
Mm-hmm. February 15th.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, 21st. Excuse me.
Yeah. So they've won 3 in a row now. Alabama, Georgia, Auburn. Got Ole Miss. At Kentucky's not easy. Like, I don't want to, just because Kentucky's not ranked, I don't want to say like, oh, they're not ranked, so they're going to win. In Rupp Arena, not going to be easy. And, Kentucky's been hit or miss kind of this year. But then you got Mississippi State and LSU they've been 2 of the worst teams in the SEC.
Just 500 ball club.
And that Vandy game on February 21st at Memorial Gym is going to be fun.
Packing it.
I mean, that I think might be one of the more fun atmospheres we'll get all year at Memorial Gym. There's been some good ones, right? Like Florida was great. But the rivalry aspect of it, and especially both teams, I think, being in that 10 to 20 range in the country is going to make it really interesting, because there's been times where Tennessee's been, clearly a better team. Last year, Vandy was making a run and they ended up getting the win. I think this is going to be really fun.
It kind of reminds you of the days in the, I guess, mid 2010s where you had the Festus Azelis, your let's put Jeffrey Taylor. I mean, those were the core, Kevin Stallings teams that really brought a crowd in. And I think what Mark Byington's done with Vanderbilt, and again, I know we're talking Tennessee here, but what Mark Byington's done with Vanderbilt this year, and also Shea Ralph for the women's team, it's just transcended that basketball program back to where it was. And I just think it's genius, and it's fantastic to see all the Nashville teams really flourishing on all cylinders, especially this basketball team here.
No, it's been a lot of fun, and I'm excited. You got some opportunities to come out and see Vandy women's basketball next week.
I hear 9,000 this past week.
Yeah, 9,000 on Sunday against Florida.
That's
big number. Gotten a little bit of an early hole, down 15 second quarter, and then roared back, outscored them 32-12 in the third quarter.
Love it.
And now 21-2. Got Kentucky on the road Thursday, but then next week, 2 top 12 matchups. Oklahoma on Monday night, and then Texas comes in on Thursday night.
Would you say that's the biggest test of those back-to-back top 15 matchups?
Yeah, this is probably the toughest stretch of the season right here. This 3-game stretch of Kentucky, Oklahoma, Texas, and then you get Georgia, who's like a borderline top 25 team, and then you go right back to it with Kentucky again, Alabama, Tennessee to end the season. So,
wow,
it's going to be a tough finish to the year, but Vandy's put himself in a good spot, 21-2. You got 2 top 10 wins. I think there's a good chance we get March Madness basketball in Nashville.
Everybody would love that. I know Vandy fans would.
Well, right. And it's like you could feel the 9,000 in the building on Sunday.
Yes.
I would expect it would be more than that for NCAA tournament games. So,
sold out crowd. You kidding me?
I would hope so.
Yes. Packed crowd in Memorial Gym for women's basketball. Absolutely.
And, the Athletes Unlimited, we gave away the tickets earlier today.
That's right.
That's back tomorrow night over at Municipal Auditorium. So lots of good basketball in town over the next few weeks. And the Vandy men's team is off this week. They don't play during the week. But Saturday they have Oklahoma at home.
Okay.
So Oklahoma's been another one of those teams that's kind of hit or miss this year. Is it Porter Moser that's their head coach, Parker?
Yes.
Yeah, the former Loyola Chicago guy.
And he's on the hot seat big time. He may not have a job in Norman next year.
Yeah, especially last year, it looked like they were trending in the right direction. And then Jeremiah Fears got drafted, their star freshman. They lost a couple of guys in the portal, I want to say. And it hasn't gone good for the Sooners.
Yeah.
So
it just seems like there's a lot of 500 ball clubs in the SEC. And then you have your kind of we're talking about the quarterback, the tiers. That's where you have the extra tiers of like your Vandy's, your Kentucky's middle of the pack this year. But, you have those extra teams up top.
It's getting to college basketball season. It is. Like the Super Bowl's on Sunday, and I think that's when nationally we turn our attention to college basketball. Yeah. That little stretch from like mid-February to the end of March, this nation is infatuated with college basketball. As John Rothstein says, we sleep in May.
Yeah. March is where it's at, baby.
I love it. And again, tonight, Vols and Rebels out there in Knoxville. And Tennessee trying to keep things going. Again, they're rising up in bracketology. I'll be interested to see how this one goes. Ole Miss was close to pulling off the upset in Memorial Gym on Saturday. Their campus has been closed. I think they've been on the road the whole time. So we'll see. This could be a good opportunity for the Vols to jump on them and kind of never look back.
Yeah, they could. I mean, looking at this Vols team, if they can just, Parker likes this, stack 1 or 2 wins going into Vandy, going into the middle of February. Like you said, Jake, a top 25, top 15 matchup, I think is exactly what kindles this rivalry back again.
Yeah.
To the older days of college basketball in the mid-state.
I'm terrified of Memorial Gymnasium. I hate playing there.
Who wouldn't be, right?
Memorial Magic, baby. It is. It's one of the most unique atmospheres in college basketball. And looking forward to that one. Still a little under 3 weeks away, but it'll get here before we know it.
I just remember going to a Vandy basketball game, and it was John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins.
Right.
It was like the core team of
that Coach Cal. Was that 2009? 8? Maybe you might be right.
2011, I believe. So phenomenal game. And I just remember alley-oops being tossed left and right to DeMarcus Cousins. John Wall, spectacle of a player to watch in college basketball.
So much fun.
Unbelievable.
John Wall. That'll do it for us here on the show today. Been a fun one. Tomorrow, Corey Curtis is with us for the full show. We'll talk lots of Titans. We'll talk the Super Bowl. And, of course, all the news around the Predators with Barry Trotz stepping down as GM. Dr. Crane, always a pleasure.
Thank you for having me, man.
Thanks for coming in. Chase and Big Joe are coming up next. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.